From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Thank you. It's 7 minutes past the hour. Welcome to the program. Well, when we thought we've heard it all, we now maybe have heard it all. It's not just once. It's not just twice. I mean, it's years of Joe Biden falling down, being confused, freezing, talking to people that aren't there, pointing and not knowing which way to walk off of a podium. It happened at the George Clooney and Julia Roberts Obama fundraiser. It happened with the G7. I mean, it happens literally all the time. So this has been brought up and questions are being raised. And Karine Jean-Pierre actually said that the videos are, it's a new term. I've heard of deep fakes. She calls them cheap fakes. So it's all fake. They're now actually telling us that we didn't see what we saw. And I think I remember telling you that that's what they were going to do. This game that they're playing, that this is not really happening, that everything is normal. You just don't know it. You couldn't keep up with this spry, incredibly sharp person. I mean, it is beyond belief. It's actually what they have resorted to. It's all cheap fakes. So, and they're doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. The White House is maintaining that every video that has shown Joe Biden to be confused, frozen, all of it, cheap fakes. James Rosen, who used to be with Fox News, who is now with, and he was out for a while, and he's been with Newsmax for a while. He got the question in, and Karine Jean-Pierre said Republicans are engaged in pure bad faith, diving into these cheap fake videos. No one, she says everyone has, no one has said that these videos are fake because they're not fake. I think one news outlet, and it's not right, one news outlet showed Joe Biden meander away from all the other G7 leaders, and he did do it. It was a very bad moment. And the Prime Minister of Italy went over and grabbed him and brought him back. But everybody was looking at this parachuter that had just landed. Biden, for whatever reason, because this is what happens when you're in the state of mind that he is in, you just wander off. There's no reason. It's like, what happened? What are you doing? It's like Obama having to grab his hand the other night. Talk about the only people editing videos. They've taken the video on Democrat media. They don't show Obama grabbing Biden by the wrist and Biden jumping because he was just completely catatonic frozen. And they'll show Obama walking off kind of with his arm around him and making it look like it's two pals. And I will say, I forget who it was, but there was one media outlet that didn't show the person that was bent down on the ground packing a parachute, that for some reason, even though all the world leaders gravitated one way, Biden he just turned his back and he walked away. And he's done that. you've seen him on stage, and it's really awkward. All of a sudden, he just walks off. And it's not very easy for him to even get off of a stage. So she just keeps saying, no, it's all cheap fakes. That was definitely a cheap fake. Jean-Pierre said of Biden's G7 moment. That video was widely fact-checked. And she's trying to make it like it didn't happen. Like he was doing something really viable that made sense. No, it didn't. Oh, I could go on and on and on about that. But let me share with you something that is just in keeping with what's been going on. And this is Joe Biden hemorrhaging support. I'll tell you another thing. I hope I can find it in my phone. I took some notes down. You know, I've always maintained how close the election was. And this is how this would have gone. Let's see if I can find it. It's not going to be easy. I got a lot in here. Let's see. Maybe it won't be as hard as I thought. I do have it. The 2020 election that the media tries to act like Biden won. Now, look, he won the popular vote. It was an all-vote by mail ballot. Democrats did a really good job, ballot harvesting, early voting, vote by mail, and he won the popular vote by quite a bit. Trump had a great popular vote as well, much more than he had in 2016. NPR, which is a liberal just mess, they reported that, quote, just 44,000 votes in Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin separated Biden and Trump from a tie in the Electoral College. Now, you know what would have happened. The House picks the president, the Senate picks the vice president. So in an electoral tie, that would have been excruciating. But Biden would have won. Trying to think. Yeah, Republicans won back the majority in 22, right? Not in 20. In 2022. So Biden would have won the presidency picked by the House of Representatives, and Kamala Harris would have won the vice presidency picked by the Senate. But needless to say, 44,000 votes total. Wisconsin was like 20,000 votes Biden won by. Georgia was half of that. And Arizona was less than 10,000. So you're talking about 44,000 votes over 3 states. So I just want to share that with you. But the point I was going to make a moment ago was black farmers are turning away from Biden. This is a New York Times Siena poll found that 20% of black voters lean towards supporting President Trump in 2024. That's double what he got in 2020. And then when you break it down, for example, in Georgia with farmers, it's a Trump double-digit lead. Black farmers, they're sick of the bureaucracy. They're sick of the red tape. And they've had it. They're falling behind on business loans, some losing their deeds to their farms. You know, Trump said at the same, I think the same, but it was the same state, if not the exact same African-American church in Michigan, was in Detroit, and famously said back in 2020, he said, what do you have to lose? Vote for me. What do you have to lose? And it's a really good point that I think is further illuminated now. Here's a YouGov poll. Hispanics, 53% of Hispanics say deport illegals. How about that? In total, and this is CBS YouGov, very Democrat poll, believe me, registered voters, not likely voters. 62% of all registered voters, and this poll was very recent, just days ago. The American people don't want this Biden doctrine. And look, they slip every once in a while. You've heard Chuck Schumer slip. They know exactly, and I keep telling you this, they know exactly what they're doing. They're willing to take this heat of the open borders because they know their goal is the permanent Democrat majority. More on this and a whole lot more coming up right after the break. It is the Hurley in the Morning program. Kirk Conover will join us at 7, Chuck Malamud at 8, Tom Foley at 9, and in the 9 o'clock hour, very big event is returning for the first time in 7 years. The Offshore Powerboat Association, the Atlantic City Grand Prix, is this Saturday. And boy, that is going to be a spectacle. We did write an article yesterday, if you want to check it out, on the app. We'll be back right after this. This is
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning.
It's a refreshing drive to work in the morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Fox News commentary.
LA City Council moved to solve homophobia by removing no U-turn signs. You really can't make this stuff up, folks. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
You can host the best backyard barbecue when you find a professional on Angie to make your backyard the best around. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
LA City Council is tackling serious problems. Oh, not crime or homelessness, but rather so-called homophobic street signs. Yes, LA City Council members gathered to remove no U-turn signs they say promote homophobia. The reason they claim is that back in the late 90s, these street signs were erected in the Silver Lake area to deter hookups among gay men. This is really something, even for woke and weird LA. Councilman Soto Martinez celebrated this symbolic and worthless virtue signal on social media, rejoicing that the physical remnants of bigotry were taken down. With all of the problems and the issues plaguing Los Angeles and surrounding California counties, it's really mind-boggling that tearing down benign traffic signs is dubbed some kind of an accomplishment. Another reason I'm overjoyed I left LA 4 years ago. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Ocean City,
EHD,
Brigantine,
Mays Landing.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's 23 minutes past the hour. So let me give you the final details on this question of the American people and where are the American people, where is our head at when it comes to deportation. 62% favor a national deportation program. Who's advocating that? President Trump. You know, Trump is just winning everywhere. This is why they charged him and did all this creepy stuff. He's winning on everything. Everything except abortion, really. So you're going to hear a lot about that, and I'm sure that'll be a big topic of the debate coming up on the 27th of June, next week. Here's the breakdown. Whites, 67% in favor. Hispanic, 53% in favor. African Americans, 47%. Those numbers are incredible, and overall, it's 62% in favor, 38% oppose. And we told you about this yesterday, and he did it. Biden unveiled his, what he's calling deportation protection. You gotta love them and their language, the way they twist and mangle the English language. Parole in place. I told you that yesterday. Parole in place. Yeah, you know, you're already here, so why shouldn't you stay? Do you know people now, they're getting their first court date. They're being given a piece of paper. It says their next court date, first court date, whatever you want to call it, is in like 8 years. This is what Joe Biden has done to this country. Make no mistake about it. You know, Trump talks about how fast he's going to be able to do it. There is a lot. Yeah, I just got to hold on a second. Let me just write somebody real quick. Hold on. Cough was not for effect. It just came to me. Let's see. The policy will allow roughly 500,000 spouses of U.S. citizens an opportunity to apply for, quote, a parole in place, end quote, program. It will shield them from deportation. It will give them work permits. And all they have to do is have been here for 10 years. So break the law, be illegal as heck, just stay here, and you get to stay longer. Just incredible. And this came out yesterday. It's accurate. And I think today will be when Biden will officially do it. I don't even know why you would do this right now. There's already such an understanding how baked in all of this is with the American people. And he's going to go double and triple down on this? It's just madness. Here's something we told you would be happening, and it should be happening in New Jersey as well. And I really don't have any problem with it. Some people might. But if you make something that it's not a crime, and it used to be, some people think, well, you know, when you did it, it was a crime, so you have to live with it. But what a lot of states are doing and thinking of doing is pardoning all of their marijuana convictions. Now, not ones that rise to the level of distribution, but just someone busted with, a little bit, and it was criminal. Federally, it still is. So in Maryland, Governor Wes Moore, and I'm telling you, keep an eye, they're trying to make him the next Obama. I told you this a long time ago. Remember where you heard it. Most people listening don't even, if I said, who is the governor of Maryland, I would say 99.9% of the country. It might even be higher than that. Well, you just said 99.9. Yeah, 99.9 infinity. Wouldn't know that Wes Moore is the governor of Maryland. But I'm telling you, they're trying to make him the next Obama. He's ordered more than 175,000 pardons for marijuana convictions yesterday, saying, quote, the most sweeping state-level pardon in any state, end quote. will help reverse harms from the past caused by the war on drugs. I don't even know what he means by that. During a news conference, Moore said his executive order, quote, will affect tens of thousands of Marylanders convicted of misdemeanors. Some may have had more than one conviction pardoned through the process. Quote, we are taking actions that are intentional, that are sweeping and unapologetic, and this is the largest such action in our nation's history, Moore, a Democrat, said. I don't know if this is anything to brag about. Evidently, he thinks it is. Recreational cannabis was legalized in Maryland in 2023 after voters approved a constitutional amendment in 2022 with 67% of the vote. The question does win seemingly almost everywhere that it's posed, particularly Democrat states. And it usually wins with well more than 60% of the vote. Here, 67% of the vote. It decriminalized possession of personal use amounts of cannabis that began on January 1st of 2023. Right now, we've been tracking these for a long time. 24 states and the District of Columbia have legalized recreational cannabis. So it is almost half the country. Not quite, but nearing half the country. Back in a moment, please, pretty please, don't go away. I need you.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
And this is Harry Hurley at 31 minutes past the hour. 3 stories that you can follow on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Next stop, grand jury for the Atlantic City mayor and his spouse. There's confusion about this because of how they were charged by summons and where it would go. Check it out. It clears all the ambiguity. Atlantic City, New Jersey residents share the craziest foods they've ever eaten. Oh, man, some of it's...
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Hot stuff in the forecast all week long. Temperatures running upwards of 10 degrees above normal for this time of year, potentially flirting with record highs later this week. Lower 90s inland, 80 at the beaches today with hazy sunshine and passing clouds. Mainly clear tonight, low of 69. Tomorrow, just like today, partly sunny, hot and dry. Average high temperature around 86. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio Hurley in the morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person that can make sense of what's happening in Atlantic City.
On WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. It's almost 37 minutes past the hour on the Hurley in the Morning program. This is not surprising, but it's been pretty typical for the way that the Hunter Biden team has handled everything. Always talking big stuff. Hey, we're suing Rudy Giuliani and others about the laptop. Now, of course, they dropped all that. Then, we're going to make a motion for a new gun trial. Now they've dropped that. Quote, unquote, the motion for a new trial has been deleted at the request of counsel. So there you have it. So they're not going to ask for a new trial, and we'll see what happens at the sentencing. Judge Noriega, something like 15 to 21 months is the guideline. And if she were to give him less than that or no time, say probation or something that would be beneath the sentencing guidelines, she would have to explain why she's doing that. She can do it, but she would have to explain it. You all know, even if the name isn't familiar, but I think the name is very famous, Ian McClellan. And I think it's pronounced actually McKellen, not McClellan. McKellen, 85 years young. He's the star from, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, the trilogy. So very, very famous. He is hospitalized right now. He fell off the stage during a fight scene in a play at London's Noel Coward Theatre yesterday. And evidently, according to one of the witnesses, it was, quote unquote, quite a fall from high up. 85 years old. I will tell you this, and it always breaks my heart, when someone that age and older, like, for example, George Burns always wanted to play Caesar's Palace on his 100th birthday. He was absolutely going to make it. No doubt about it. He was in amazing condition for his age. That's why I always tell you, it's not the age. It's the mental acuity. There's biological age, chronological age. So this Ian McKellen, even though he doesn't look super young, has been very, very vital. I don't know how bad this fall was. It doesn't sound good. He fell into the audience, and one audience member said they were all in shock. And, quote, it must have been quite a fall from high up. Quote, I was at the back of the theater in the stalls. There was a fight scene, and Sir Ian stepped down the step that was on stage, lost his footing, and fell off the stage and into the audience. He still had his microphone on and could be heard shouting for help as some stagehands came out and then started instructing everyone to leave as they brought a stretcher to take Ian McKellen to the hospital. The seriousness of his condition is not yet known. It's known. It's not yet known to us. Let me get in a few more. Oh, this is great. Beautiful. Oh, I look forward to this. Just doing a little multitasking. We have a little shindig that we're staging on Thursday at the Linwood Country Club, and the weather looks amazing. It is going to be a mostly sunny day that occasionally the golfers will be relieved of the sun and have some cloud cover. Then the sun will come back. So it's mostly sunny is going to be the day. It'll probably be this time in the morning. It'll probably be about 68, 69 degrees by about 9 when they tee off on Thursday. And I don't have the hour by hour. It's just not available yet for Thursday. I mean, it's only Tuesday. But it's only a 7% chance of rain. The wind is about 10 miles an hour, I think, out of the south-southwest. So there'll be a nice little breeze, but not too windy. And I would imagine that for most of the round, it will be in the mid to upper 70s, touching over 80 towards maybe, the last 6 holes, something like that. I mean, it's going to be fantastic. So when you're hearing all this, this heat wave and all that, the absolute high on the mainland, and I'll say specifically Linwood, that's what I'm most concerned about for Thursday, is 85. So that's great. There was a point in time where the high was going to be 90, 91-ish. So thank goodness for that. One sports item, the Boston Celtics. Not my favorite team, but I have respect. They have won their 18th NBA championship. They won the series over the Dallas Mavericks 3-1, dominating the deciding game 106-88 for the 18th NBA championship of the Boston Celtics. Who was it? Is it Bill Russell that has something like 10 NBA championships? Let's see if Siri knows. Could even be more than 10. Could it be 12? I think it's at least 10. Siri, how many NBA championships did Bill Russell win?
Bill Russell won 11 NBA championships.
I had it right down the middle. He won 11. I said 10. Then I said, could it be more? It was like 12. Then I said, I think it's 10. And Siri comes back with 11. Your boy's right there. right in the middle. Boy, I'll tell you, for a career, see, I think Wilt was a better player, but Bill Russell, and that also is a byproduct of the team that you're on as well. But 11 championships, my goodness. Yogi Berra, I think, also is in that same area. I know he has one for the thumb, each thumb. So he's got 10. Let's see how many Yogi Berra has. Siri, how many Major League Baseball championships does Yogi Berra have?
Yogi Berra won 10 World Series championships.
Your boy's just bringing it today. Bringing the sports knowledge. We've got the political acumen. We can bring the sports knowledge. Yogi Berra has 10 World Championships. I'm going to go to break right now and celebrate my greatness.
Hurley in the morning.
They stick to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG. You're listening to Hurley in the morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Oh, shucks. Keep going. I'll keep my mic turned down. Come on. That was nice. 48 minutes past the hour. To give you an idea of, you talk about battleground states. How about Wisconsin? I went back in 2016. President Trump defeated Hillary Clinton by 22,748 votes. Wow. Not to be outdone, 2020, Joe Biden won Wisconsin by even less, 20,682. If you look at all the polling data, President Trump leads in Wisconsin. But that is a true battleground state. Check this out. Iowa was always considered a battleground state. It could go back and forth. It was always very, very close. I think President Trump won Iowa by 8 points in 2020. Get a load of this one. This is as new as the data could possibly be. And oh, my, it's likely voters. Wow. The Des Moines Register and Mediacom Iowa poll surveyed 632 likely voters between June 9th and June 14th with a margin of error of plus or minus 3.5%. President Trump holds a commanding 18-point lead, 50 to 32. Wowza. Frank Luntz, who I'm not a particular fan of, said in 2020, Trump won Iowa by plus 8 points. Now Iowa's best pollster shows him up plus 18 in the state, which is bad news for Biden. In more competitive Midwestern states like Wisconsin and Michigan, and Trump is winning in Michigan as well. Let me tell you what's going on that you're not going to hear from many people. The DailyMail.com, they're reporting it. How many times have I told you how to get the stuff about bad Democrat stuff, you've got to go to the Daily Mail and places like that, or me. You're not going to get it through the sycophant Democrat media. DailyMail.com yesterday released secret Democrat plot to replace Biden revealed. How Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer would topple the aging president and when they'd do it. So guess what? On June 27th, they will be watching. And if Biden falters, you're going to see they're going to strike. And when I say strike, I mean strike with a plan. Going to Jill, saying, hey, this, figure out how you want to do it. We'll go with however you want to do it, but this isn't going to happen. Joe can't be the nominee. Now, keep in mind, I don't want that. I don't want them to get away with replacing late, somebody doesn't have to go through any of the... Look what Trump had to go through to win the nomination. Not easy. Here we go. Georgia. This is a New York Times Siena poll. President Trump, 49%. Joe Biden, 39%. With all that indictment crap. How about that? Very, very good. This I'm going to put out ever so briefly, and I've actually made a decision to hold it until we visit with Kirk coming up in about 13 minutes from now. IRS to end major tax loophole for the wealthy. So here's their scheme. Here's their scam. Stick it to the rich. Because remember, Joe Biden, I build it from the bottom up and the middle out. Shut up. I know your father always said just a little bit more at the end of the week. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And he repeats it again and again and again. Just a little more. So what they fail to understand, when you screw the wealthy, you actually screw the middle and the lower income folks. Because the rich people will always figure it out. They'll move their money out of the country. They'll move their money in different ways. They'll shut businesses down. It's like, hey, I don't need to do that. I'll just shut that down. I mean, I always use this example because it's so true. I remember when the Democrats were raving. Kirk may have actually been in the legislature at the time. If not, he's well versed on the topic. And I remember, wow, this is a bad idea. They're going to put a luxury tax on these boats. I said, I see this going very badly. The rich people aren't going to pay it. They can go buy their boats wherever they want. And then the poor people, the boat people that work there, that make the boats, they're going to lose their jobs. And it's exactly what happened. That wasn't a Pocket Kreskin moment. It sounds like that was a prediction, but that's like math. That was a guarantee. There was no question about it. I remember pointing out John F. Kerry. He bought the Scaramouche somewhere where there wasn't the taxes that he would have paid in Taxachusetts. That's how they work. They don't pay it. They want to stick it to you, but they don't pay it. And speaking of John Fraud Kerry, get a load of this one. See how you like this. Hold on, I got to find it. Then I have another one for you that's a doozy. Hold on. I know I have it. If I don't find it, I'll have to just do an extemporaneous mini monologue on it. But I just saw it a moment ago. Here we go. I knew I had it. So you have Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson, and they have demanded that Antony Blinken, not Anthony, Antony. They've given him until July 1st, I believe, to turn over all kinds of stuff on John Fraud Kerry, because the belief is there's whistleblowers that say that Fraud Kerry used an alias email address. See, this is what they do. Remember HROD 3, what was it? Hillary Clinton's HROD 327, or I can't remember, but it was HROD and some numbers. And it might have been at Hotmail or at Gmail. I think it was Hotmail. And she was doing all kinds of stuff. And Obama said, I didn't know. And then they have emails of Obama emailing her to that H-Rod. God, they're just incredible liars. Quote, based on legally protected whistleblower disclosures, then Secretary of State John Kerry used the email address sestravel1@state.gov. We want to know whether then Secretary Kerry complied with all federal records laws and regulations with respect to his official email communications. And here's what they've asked Grassley and Johnson regarding Kerry to Antony Blinken. If the email address used by Kerry is his, as the whistleblowers say it is, all records to or any that have been carbon copied with these email addresses, the alias, compliance with federal record law, all FOIA requests, including the email, other emails used by Kerry at the time, communication with foreign government officials. Now, there's one other thing I want to squeeze in before the end of the break, and I'm so curious whether you would agree with this or disagree with it. Let's see if I can find it. Darn it. Might have to wait till Kirk on this, but I at least can squeeze it in real quick. The Surgeon General is calling for a warning label on social media platforms. And I'm curious if people have been bullied and have committed suicide, kids and stuff like that, from the cruelness and all that. I'm just wondering, do you agree or disagree with slapping a Surgeon General's warning label on all social media platforms? I don't think I like it.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation.
Yes!
Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
10 straight years, but it's not like I track that or anything. This portion of the Hurley in the Morning program brought to us in part by my friends at Ambient Comfort Heating and Air Conditioning Professionals. And yes, we have hit the week, towards the end of the week especially, but not Thursday. Thursday is going to be glorious for reasons I need not say. But this is the week that if your system is not ready to keep up, you're going to know it because it's going to be uncomfortable. And I don't want you to be uncomfortable. I want you to have great comfort with Ambient Comfort and their $59 air conditioning tune-up special for new customers. Yes, there are many hot days ahead, and what I've been urging is that the sooner you discover a problem, the easier the repairs tend to be, and not to wait until it's 90 degrees to find out that your system is not keeping up. For $59 for new customers, and if you're not a new customer, it's still very, very fairly priced for the tune-up. And I can promise you, because we do it every year, twice, air conditioning season, heating season, it's well worth it. They'll make sure your system is safe and running at maximum efficiency. When comfort matters, choose who I choose. Choose Ambient Comfort. Schedule your tune-up right now at ambientcomfortnj.com. That's ambientcomfortnj.com, or you can call 609-568-0955. That's 609-568-0955. Hey, by the way, I want to give a financial tip because it's so easy to avoid branch banking anymore. And it's a shame because I come from that. I spent 3 really great years in branch banking. And we were all about customer service and loved seeing people. And we had days where I had the staff in Phillies jerseys, and we had a hot dog stand and a dessert stand. I mean, we did it right in the branch. So a lot of that touch is gone because you can do everything from your iPhone, your smartphone. Well, I will tell you what's important. If you are signing a check, and even that, so much can be done electronically, digitally, but we still do use checks. I do, and the Hurley in the Morning Charity does. So, but I have to admit, I do mostly digital banking at this stage as well. But what's important, though, if you sign your check, and it's not anybody's fault, the line is there, and then your ABA and, which is the routing number of the bank, and your account number, it's at the bottom. It's so easy for your signature to go in to either the ABA number or the account number. And I had the occasion, and actually I have to go to the branch now, to Morgan Stanley. It's not a chore or anything. I mean, literally, it's walking distance almost. It's right down the street. Don't even have to cross the street, same side of the street as Broadcast Center. But somebody signed and they put it through the account number. So I knew. I tried to do the electronic deposit, but I knew it was going to say that some of the account number is covered, and it is. So when you're signing a check, remember that most people you're giving that check to want to just take a picture of it front and back and be done with it. And it's in their account or however it's being negotiated. But if you sign through the account number, then you make them have to go to the branch. That's remember Joe Carcione, your greengrocer with your tip of the week? No, that was actually your clip of the week. That was the Henson boy on Talk Soup, I think it was called. We have your clip of the week. But the Joe Carcione did have your tip of the day, though. That was good stuff. All right, I have one item that is small potatoes, but it is sort of a microcosm of the fake Democrats as they are accusing Republicans of what Karine Jean-Pierre now calls cheap fakes, not deep fakes, cheap fakes. Even though they're videos that have not been edited in any way, and it is Joe Biden confused and freezing. And when I say freezing, not cold, but just statuesque, like a Tussauds Wax Museum figurine, freezing. And all the other things that we see him do. So they're now actually telling us that we didn't see what we saw, that we don't see what we see. Kirk, that's the new game. You just deny. They're like the cheating spouse that gets busted in bed with another woman, and the husband tells the wife, I didn't just do that. She's not here. I'm not here. You're crazy. I mean, Kirk, I got to tell you, this is sick, these people.
It is, and they are covering up a very dangerous situation, basically. I mean, all the reports coming out of the G7 talk about how disturbed the world leaders were at his condition. The cadaver in chief was on full display, and I think you hit it best when you said that, when he wandered off, he caught a shiny object. And that was, that now they're saying he was giving thumbs up to one of the parachutists. And although none of the other world leaders...
Well, he was giving a thumbs up to the parachutist who was down on the ground just packing a parachute. He wasn't the one that all the other... It was G6 at that point, because G7 had meandered off to, to take a poopy or something. I don't know what was going on. But the prime minister of Italy came over and grabbed him and brought him over with the rest that literally were with someone who had just parachuted down. It is true. Our president is completely incapable of having this position. This is, and I have been using the same word that you just used, Kirk, for a long time. This isn't just now. This is the whole time that this is dangerous. And there is a reason, though, that Afghanistan went the way that it has and that the world is going the way that it is. And now Vladimir Putin is with Kim Jong-un. So the Batman villains are all getting together. They are pouncing upon weakness, Kirk Conover.
It's very obvious, and unfortunately, it's exactly the doctrine that Obama took into office when he was inaugurated, went on the apology tour and wanted America to be just like every other nation in the world, nothing exceptional, nothing superior, and this is the way it's playing out. I mean, the Democrats have, I should say the National Democrats have a overwhelming desire to make America unexceptional. And it's all because they want to implement socialism.
Kirk, as you know, in 9 days, and Biden's going to be gone for at least 7 of them. I mean, literally, we're not going to have a president because they have to, whatever they do, I'm going to use the phrase, prepare him. And I don't mean debate prep. I mean, whatever they have to do, embalm him, shoot him up. I don't know what goes on, Kirk, but one day we're all going to find out whether they were giving him experimental drugs, whether that cocaine at the White House was his. I mean, because they say you can take the cocaine and jazz him up or something. I'm not saying he does that. I'm just saying something goes on. I don't know if he gets infusions, if they take the blood out of his body and purify it and put it back in, if there's some kind of experimental, dementia drug, if there is, I don't know what. But Kirk, do you agree with me? Even though we can't say what, who was it? There was a very famous person that said, I don't know what pornography is, but I know it when I see it. I don't know exactly what goes with respect to him, but something isn't right, and something goes on when he disappears like this.
Yeah, I think it's good old-fashioned blood doping like they did with the cyclists. They over-oxygenate the blood, which gives you more endurance, and that's why the competitive cyclists used it, the long-distance guys. And that is what I think they do. I mean, it's the cleanest way because, he would pass a drug test.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with, if he has a dementia and the brain isn't firing correctly? It doesn't rewire that or anything, does it?
Well, it would provide more oxygen to the brain, which would make the brain more functional.
So, in other words, whatever he's got, it would maximize whatever he's got to its fullest potential.
Yeah, well, it's all theory. Like you said, we'll find out. But the danger is the fact that he's carrying around the nuclear football, and there's people who knows if someone could whisper in his ear, say, "Oh, there's Russian ships in Cuba, you got to nuke them," and he takes it seriously. So it's a very dangerous situation, but it's also very corrosive in that, as you pointed out, the Batman villains are getting together, trying to take advantage of American weakness as they see it, wherever they see it around the world. And it's also corrosive in the sense that he's degrading the economy. I mean, we're down to 1.3% GDP growth. Inflation's still raging. It's not at 9%. It's at 3.5%, 3.4%.
But please, Wharton School graduate, when we come back, explain, though, that is the number now, but the persistent high prices did not come down. So all the inflation is just baked in. So good. This is the rate now, 3.5 or whatever it is, but that's not the reality that the American people are dealing with when they're paying 30% more at the gas pump and 30-some% more for other forms of energy and 28 to 40% more for food. So it's wonderful to say, and Biden's going to say it, Bidenomics is working, and I guess Trump's going to hit him on, you keep lying and saying what the inflation rate was when you came into office, but we all know, and even Jake Tapper and the other Dana Bash or whoever these two people are will have to acknowledge that, that is fake news on Joe Biden's part. So it's not what it is now. I'm happy about that it's coming down. But the incredibly high prices, inflation, stagflation, the whole shebang. Back with Kirk, and I have one other meaningless, but yet it is a telling example of these fraudulent Democrats. It involves a raw hamburger and cheese. We'll be back right after this. How many of you know, just by me saying that, where I'm going with that? I think many of you do. All of you will in just a few minutes with Kirk. I am Hurley in the morning. This is WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hurley in the morning.
Not only the news, but perspective too.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
Biden campaign raises $30 million. And where's Donald Trump? Well, he's meeting with African Americans in Detroit, which is great. And one of the reasons he's doing it is because there is a massive political shift that is happening in this country. Even fake news CNN is noticing the trend lines that are happening because it's happening in poll after poll after poll. What has James Carville been saying now for week after week after week? That Joe Biden is bleeding. They can't talk about the economy. It's a disaster. They can't talk about the border. It's a disaster. They can't talk about Joe's energy policies. A disaster. They can't talk about law and order. It's a disaster.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
Hey guys, breaking news. Did you hear that gold hit an all-time high? And based on market analysis, it could soar even higher. With inflation increasing, global tensions escalating, and central banks buying gold at record levels, the gold boom could skyrocket to over $7,000 an ounce. In fact, experts claim that the gold investing madness is just getting started. And that's why we partnered with the highest rated gold company, Goldco. They have earned over 5,000 five-star reviews from tens of thousands of happy customers who have diversified their savings with gold and silver. Today, Goldco is offering you up to 8 years in free IRA fees plus 8% instant match in bonus silver with a qualified account. Call 855-815-GOLD for free IRA fees, bonus silver, and a free gold and silver info kit. What are you waiting for? Join the tens of thousands of people who have already joined the gold rush and diversified their savings with gold and silver. Call 855-815-GOLD now. That's 855-815-GOLD now.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City, Goshen, Cape May.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
So, Kirk Conover, let me just build a little, mosaic here. Just to show you, not you, but everyone, how completely, utterly dishonest the Democrats are. This thing is going around like crazy because it's so ridiculous. You've got Chuck Schumer with a raw hamburger patty on a spatula. Nobody does that the way he's doing it to begin with. And on the grill is a completely raw hamburger with a piece of cheese sitting on the top of the raw meat. Now, as a somewhat grill master myself, you do not put the cheese on top of the raw hamburger, Kirk. He has his glasses sitting on top of the wooden block to the right of the grill where you put the food right on top of it, chicken and hot dogs and burgers, his dirty glasses sitting a glass down. That's another thing. What kind of lunatic doesn't, if you're going to lay your glasses down, you lay them glass up, not glass down. Kirk, these Democrats, they're a fraud about everything, even hamburgers.
Yeah, that was, trying to humanize him. That was, a PR ploy that went completely awry.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
All the burners were off. If you look at the knobs.
Yeah, the burners are off, and it's raw hamburger on the grill with a piece of cheese just to look like he's a grill master. But do they think people are stupid?
They do. They try to play the American people as being stupid, and that's in this instance, he was smoked out. And Judge Janine pointed out on the 5 yesterday that in the Jewish religion, cheese is never supposed to touch meat. I don't know if that's true or not, but it all adds up to the fact that he was doing I'm good old boy Chucky Schumer.
Yeah, Kirk, let me make one other observation because this whole thing just bugs the crap out of me. His grill is filthy. The grill is disgusting. It means he didn't even burn it off. If you don't want to scrub it with one of the things that takes this, charcoal off, the char, that gathers from cooking on a grill, the top rack where maybe you put buns, or sometimes people put the hot dogs up there so they don't get overcooked, and you want to keep them around for a little bit near the heat, but not right over it. So that is filthy. You see it. And then the grill is filthy. This is just a very fraudulent, poor example that everything they do is half you-know-what. Everything they do is bass-ackwards. Everything they do is a fake and a fraud, even grilling. I rest my case.
Yeah, the hot dogs were cooked, too.
I do see that. They're for those who haven't seen this, they're only peeking out a little bit, like maybe a third of one and maybe 10% of another, but you definitely can see the hot dogs are somewhat cooked. But the hamburgers are not, Kirk. There's cheese on top of raw hamburger meat.
But it just shows that they're all a media play.
Yeah.
They manipulate the language to try to, get us to believe that they're not doing what they're doing. And they have these publicity stunts like this,
Right. Hey, Kirk, by the way, just let me break this down like John Madden with the telestrator. If the grill was on and he was really cooking a hamburger and he put the cheese on top of the raw meat, the raw hamburger, the bottom part would be cooking. So what do you do at that point? Do you turn it over and put the cheese on the grill? Do you have to then, the cheese would already melt, so the cheese would be melting on the raw top side. You see the dilemma here, Kirk. It's a problem.
Oh, absolutely. And it is a total fake, and it's part of their whole strategy, and it's disturbing because we see it every day, those who really pay attention to detail, but there's a lot of people out there that are just too busy, or they're disgusted with watching the news, so they go about their business. And if they get a smattering here and there of this fake media image that the Democrats are putting out, they're susceptible. And that's a real shame.
Kirk, hang in there. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back, 29 minutes past the hour. This portion of the Hurley in the Morning program is brought to us in part by my friends at Batteries Plus. And I really appreciate it. I've been hearing from a number of people, even Dom Giordano, on my interview. I appeared on Dom's show yesterday, if you all were listening, for the first segment, probably about 10 or 15 minutes. And he mentioned Batteries Plus. And he mentioned Roy, who's fantastic. And it was just a great just cross-pollination of our client because they work with Dom as well. Batteries Plus is in Northfield, right next to Broadcast Center, and in Mount Laurel, and they're one of our WPG industry aces. If you have a car, truck, marine, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility scooter, motorcycle, you name it, anything with a battery, they've got it. And if you need to get ready for the storm season, I mean, what was it the other day? We had actually a tornado touch in New Jersey, and Tom Bassford helped me out. It was called like a water spout. I mean, just crazy stuff. If you need your LED, you need emergency lighting, you need a portable generator, surge protectors, they've got them all. If you have a broken phone or tablet screen, they can fix it at Batteries Plus. If your cell phone battery needs to be replaced, I've done it. They'll do it while you wait. You don't leave your phone and come back another day. I mean, they understand. You know, you don't want to be out without it for minutes. So they'll do it right while you wait. If you need a new battery in your key fob or your watch, they'll do that. They can open them up and do all these things that we might not be able to do. So if you have it and it's broken, even unique things, Margie's going to take an item. We have the Roomba, but not the vacuum cleaner one is fine, but the one that actually mops wood floors. So something's not right. It's not holding a charge or something's not going right. She's going to take it over to Batteries Plus. They fix it. You just have to stop in, mention Hurley in the morning, 900 Tilton Road, right next to Broadcast Center, Tilton Road in Northfield, Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Stop in to one of their locations, and you can enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
With Kirk Conover, I am Hurley in the morning with 3 stories that you can follow on our WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Next stop, grand jury for the Atlantic City mayor and his spouse. Read all about it. Some are confused, like, hey, what's going on? We tell you. Atlantic City, New Jersey residents share craziest foods that they've ever eaten. Some of them, I'll just say, one of them is monkey brain. Dan, you listening? Powerboat racing returns. We'll be talking to Tom Foley in the 9 o'clock hour.
South Jersey. From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. It's a pleasant enough morning. I wouldn't call it cool with temperatures hovering around 70, but at least the air isn't suffocating right off the bat. We'll average 85 this afternoon, 90s inland, 80 at the beaches with hazy sunshine and passing clouds. Mainly clear tonight, low of 69. Tomorrow, just like today, partly sunny, hot and dry. We'll average about 86, 88 on Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. For complete contest rules, visit WPGTalkRadio.com. Bible. Hurley in the morning.
It tends to make me feel a little bit more intelligent.
I know.
WPG Talk Radio.
Me too. I make myself feel smarter. Kirk, I want a sidebar for a quick second. Last 2 minutes of the break, I picked up the phone to, sometimes Kirk and I chat during the breaks. Sometimes we don't. I picked up the phone with 2 minutes left in the break, and I regaled with Kirk about this Thursday's 17th annual Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Open at the Linwood Country Club. The weather is going to be absolutely spectacular, glorious, and for the 17th consecutive year, it's not going to rain. I'm that confident. I don't usually say it 2 days in advance, but it's not going to rain. And I'm amazed about that, Kirk. I almost can't believe it.
Well, it is fantastic, and I think it's because you do good work. The charity has, doled out over $1 million to all good causes. It's just fantastic, and I think that's why you're being rewarded.
Well, Kirk, last year when I said on air, dear God, I know how busy you are, but could you just take a moment to understand that after 16 years, we have moved from Friday to Thursday, and please bless us. We had perfect weather last year. I mean, if we could have that every year, it was over the moon perfection. And then on Friday, it was end of days, dark, and crazy heavy rain, torrential, where almost you can't see. The wipers can't keep up with the rain. It was so bad. And that was, if we had stayed on Friday, we would have had our first rain out.
Yeah, that would have been a shame. I remember that whole scenario, waking up Friday morning thinking, oh, my.
Margie and I went to lunch the day after the charity golf tournament last year, and we were in that crazy rain. And I remember saying, oh, my gosh, if we would have been doing what we've done for 16 straight years, this is total. This is not like you just wait it out and it's just a little June shower like in Florida where, 1 hour it's raining and then it's perfection. This was wipeout. And we're so blessed, so lucky. And on behalf of all 124 golfers, we're looking forward to a great 17th annual Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Open. And Kirk is captain of a foursome. Nancy is captain of a foursome. And Kirk, we love having you and Nancy and your teams in our event.
Well, we love playing, and we love the whole way you run the event. It's outstanding. I mean, I've been in a lot of charity golf tournaments, and yours is the best. There's no question about it.
Thanks for that, Kirk. And also, too, you're a former champion. I mean, this is pretty amazing. I mean, we love it. And of course, Nancy has a track record of the most honest foursome in the Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Open history.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, the only time we ever missed was we had to go to South Carolina to prepare for settlement on our house.
Correct. This will be 16 out of 17.
Is out practicing right now.
Oh, I heard that.
You heard that?
That's that famous golfer that makes holes in one. I mean, she's dangerous.
Yeah, hole in one. Yeah.
Oh gosh, I love it.
She's going out right now.
They're practicing. The girls are practicing.
That makes me happy. Makes me very happy. So, Kirk, let me pose the question that I floated at the end of the last hour. The IRS is going to end a major tax loophole for the wealthy. They're so proud of themselves because they say they're going to raise $50 billion in revenue over the next decade. But I say they won't, because people that maybe were formerly in that position will do something different. It's a shell game. It's just like, and I use the example of the New Jersey luxury tax on the luxury boats. I couldn't remember or not. I speculated, Kirk, you may have been in the legislature when they slapped that tax on the luxury boats. And I remember predicting with you on air, whether you were in office then or you weren't, I remember predicting with you on air that what that's going to result in is employees being laid off, because people that can buy a luxury boat will buy it somewhere else. And they did.
Yep. I was a freeholder then, and it was the early 90s. And this so-called luxury tax was supposed to generate enough to replace some other source of revenue that was lacking, because supposedly the economy was faltering under George H.W. Bush. And South Jersey had 5 or 6 boat builders that made what they considered luxury yachts, and only one survived. All the others went down.
Sure.
And I resurrect my famous quote from the time I was in the Assembly in 2004, when they wanted to dramatically increase the tax on casinos. You cannot tax your way to prosperity. And this idea that somehow you can target the wealthy figure out ways to get around things. They figure out ways to avoid, they don't have to put up with it. So it's a fool's errand, and it's just not ever going to work. What you need is a fair tax system where everybody feels that they're taxed fairly.
But yes, exactly. And by the way, John Kerry, while purchasing the Scaramouche, he did not buy it in Massachusetts. He went to a low-tax state. I don't know if it was Florida, and then he had it brought back. And I think it was Florida, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't confirm that. But I can confirm what I said. He did not buy it in his home state that would have gouged him. So that kind of taxing has never, ever worked. Now, this I know that you were in the legislature, because I remember the days of the burning hot paper coming out of the copying machine, when these budgets were literally too hot to handle, because the copy machines were working so hard and printing so many thousands and thousands of pages for all the different members to vote. You think about that. That's how it used to be. They printed, it's kind of wild. I'm sure they don't do that anymore. It's all digital. But they did it then. And I kind of like that because you have it in your hand. And if it's too many pages, you can say, look at this thing. You have an exhibit. So I kind of like that better. If it's digital, it's more abstract. Incidentally, quick comment. Don Hurley wrote in to the program, Nancy Conover is the most honest golfer. I just thought I would. I hope Nancy's listening in the car. And Nancy, I concur. We've given her that award. You know what I have to do? I have to get a prize, though. You can't just give the award. You know, I got it. I know what we're going to do. All right, so anyhow, back to this thing. Just like in those days of the scorching hot paper, Kirk, when they would anticipate revenue that everybody in the world knew was never going to be realized, but they would get out alive and say, we have a balanced budget, because those that don't know that are listening, in New Jersey, you have to have a balanced budget. But so many times, Kirk, it's through anticipated revenue that never, ever occurs.
Yeah, that was always the big fraud trick. In that particular session, that was June 30th, 2004. I call it the night of the living dead budget. We stayed all night long.
And they froze the clock, right?
They froze the clock, physically stopped the clock at 11:59.
Yeah.
Because it's against the law to adopt the budget on July 1st.
It's another scam. It's like we make they're so great, these Democrats in Trenton. They're so great, Kirk, they can make time stand still. Is there nothing they cannot do, Kirk? We'll be back right after this break. Don't go away. Kirk Conover visiting with the Truth in Broadcasting. I am Hurley in the Morning.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
It's the topics that matter to me.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station, WPG Talk Radio 95.5, and the WPG Talk Radio Hurley in the Morning.
If you really want to know what's happening in Atlantic City, it's Harry Hurley every single morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. She's smart. It's 51 minutes past the hour. Kirk Conover continues Tuesday mornings on the Hurley in the Morning program in the 7 o'clock hour for decades. And Chuck Malamut, who is part of one of the longest running segments in the history of the state of New Jersey, and I know in the entire history of American broadcasting industry, this July 1st, we will celebrate 32 years, 32 consecutive years on air together. That is almost humanly impossible, because usually the broadcaster gets the heave-ho, or the guest doesn't want to, the partner doesn't want to do it anymore. It takes a lot of things. The company wanting there to be a show, the host wanting to do a show, the other host wanting to do a show. So we're pretty darn blessed, and we know it. Kirk, what else is on your mind? Oh, you know what I want to talk about, if you don't mind, Kirk? Let's riff on the... We'll have another broadcast before the debate, but let's riff on the June 27th CNN Biden v. Trump debate and get your thoughts about it.
I think it's going to be, the angry, pumped-up State of the Union Joe Biden, and I don't know if he's going to be able to stay on topic without his teleprompters. And I think it will show how much different his demeanor is compared to, like 4 years ago when they debated. I also think that President Trump has to, control his impulses and stick to policy. He's got to lay out a plan of returning, normalizing America.
Right. But in their debate prep with the cadaver-in-chief, as you call him, they're going to instruct Biden to try to trigger Trump. So he's going to call him a criminal. He's going to call him a convicted criminal. He's going to use the term convicted felon. You know that's coming, Kirk.
Oh, yeah. They'll try anything to get him off the real deal, which is normalizing America, getting back to free market economics, getting rid of all the woke stuff that's actually ruining corporations. I saw a CEO the other day. He's anti-woke, and he came up with a term. They have this DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, which means that, you hire people based on the color of their skin and various other things. And he came up with MEI, merit, excellence, and intelligence. And that's what he's basing his hiring on. And it was a major company. But that's the kind of America that the left-wing Democrats want. And that's what they've been slowly dragging us to. And it's the reason the economy has basically stalled out. It's the reason inflation is persistent. And you're right, prices don't go down. They stay at high levels. And the more persistent inflation is, the higher the prices are going to go. And inflation, devalues the dollar. And President Trump has to address that straight on. It can't be just the Fed. You've got to take the federal government spending and get it under control. And that is the other aspect of controlling inflation is, we've got all these trillions of dollars that are out there that still haven't been spent under the Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, and the original American Recovery Act that was for COVID. So you had $4.5 trillion in spending, and there's probably $1.5 trillion still not spent. So that continues to have fiscal stimulus on the economy, which continues to foster inflation. And this is a little bit of a sidebar from the debate, but the other thing that's going on when you talk about the Batman villains is this organization called BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa formed an alliance to counter America around the world. And the way they're going to do it is to trade in their own currencies and not use the U.S. dollar as the exchange currency. And that is also devaluing the dollar. That also increases inflation, because when you devalue the dollar, it has less purchasing power, and therefore there's inflation. And this is very dangerous because now Saudi Arabia is joining BRICS, the UAE is joining BRICS, Venezuela is joining BRICS. All these countries that are bad actors in many ways are joining BRICS to try to bring down the U.S. dollar. And this is something that President Trump has to address in the debate, because it affects our long-term economic health. The dollar has the purchasing power it has because people believe in the strength of the dollar. They believe that, America is a strong economy, and that's the backing of the dollar. And when you get all these bad actors trying to devalue it, and then you have your own government devaluing it, it's a real problem. So, and of course, he has to address illegal immigration, which is ruining the labor market. They touted all these jobs being created, and as you pointed out, 100,000 of them were illegal immigrants in that jobs report. And you see it in the polling that Hispanic Americans want mass deportation of these illegal immigrants because they are taking people's jobs away. And it's just, there's so many issues that have to be addressed in that debate, lay a path forward to returning America to excellence, returning America to, normalizing everyday Americans' lives.
Yeah. Kirk, in the final minute, I want to read the debate rules and get you do the final minute on what you think of the setup, the format. 2 commercial breaks. Candidates cannot interact with campaign staff throughout the 90-minute period. Podium positions to be determined by a coin flip. Mics muted outside speaking time. No props. Pre-written notes. Pen, paper, water will be provided. What do you think of the rules? And also, it's not in here, but they also have to stand. They cannot sit. They have to stand for the 90 minutes.
Well, that's the first I've heard it laid out.
Thank you.
I think
That's what I do.
I think it's pretty good.
I do too.
It almost sounds like they set these rules up to smoke out Biden's weakness.
It is crazy. The format is very, very good for Trump. I think even the mic shutting off will stop him from being able to do what he did in that first debate that was disastrous, and that is not letting Biden speak. In terms of having to stand for the 90 minutes, I like that. I don't trust Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. I think this is horrific from that standpoint. So the questions are going to be like abortion and, hey, you're a convicted felon. Do you think that's a problem? I think it's going to be pretty rough stuff. But Kirk, enjoy the hour, and we'll see you Thursday.
Very good, Harry. I always enjoy being on the number one program in New Jersey.
Great to be with you, my friend. Thank you. Chuck Malamut is next. I'm Hurley in the Morning.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the Broadcast Pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
I thank you very much. 6 minutes past the hour. The following program is presented and sponsored by Chuck Malamut for the past 32 years, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley, Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, how are you? That's really not working out too well. Hold on. I got to adjust that. A little bit of a change on the board. Hold on, Chuck. I got to bring that way down. Chuck, I hate to do this on air, but I got to test your mic on the air.
Good morning, Harry. How are you?
Good. That's better.
Am I supposed to say testing 1, 2, 3?
No, you're good.
Well, another day, another record. Harry, let's start with last week, and we'll kind of morph a little bit into yesterday and to where we are today. The S&P last week up 1.6%, NASDAQ up as well. The Dow and the Russell 2000 were both lower, so we're seeing a little bit of a diversion here in the market. Breadth narrow again, upside driven, Harry, mostly because of that rate rally. Interest rates are coming down on the long end of the curve, the 2-year, the 10-year. And then there's more talk about this soft landing optimism. Best sector of the week, Harry, technology. Worst sectors, energy and financials. So when you take a look at where we are year to date, the S&P up 14.6%. The NASDAQ up 18.3%. The Dow, the laggard of the group, up 3.3%. The international stocks up about 5.3% year to date. Best performing sectors, and now we're starting to see a little bit of spread differential here. It's widening out. Technology up almost 30% year to date, Harry. Communication services up 24%. Utilities in third spot up 11.4%. On the flip side, what is not working, real estate, the only losing sector again in the S&P 500, down 3%. Consumer discretionary materials up ever so slightly year to date. Again, what we're looking at is the 10-year Treasury. That's the benchmark for longer rates. Had a pretty big rally last week, Harry, up almost 2%, up 1.87%. So year to date, we're closing in to being break even. We're down 1% year to date in the 10-year Treasury. Now you're seeing that reflected with interest rates. The 2-year, the 10-year, they're down. The 10-year down about 40 to 50 basis points, Harry, I believe, over just the last several weeks. So, the Fed and we'll get to this in a minute, but I think the point I want to make here, Harry, is that a lot of the heavy lifting that the Fed is supposed to be doing is actually being done by the bond market.
Oh, wow.
If you look at the 10-year Treasury, if you look at the 2-year, those rates are coming down. And in the meantime, short money, overnight money still remains relatively high. It's not relatively high, I should say. And, hopefully within the next, several months, the Fed will embark on their course of starting to reduce rates here.
Very interesting. A reminder for all of your financial planning needs, turn to the official financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut. And you can reach the Malamut Group at their Morgan Stanley Northfield, New Jersey office, right down the road from Broadcast Center, same side of the street. They're at 376 Tilton Road. We're at 950 Tilton Road. 609-383-2010, 609-383-2010 to reach Chuck for all of your financial planning needs. What's next, Chuck?
Harry, let's talk a minute about yesterday. The markets themselves, continuing on their winning ways. The NASDAQ hit its 6th straight record close. The S&P was up for its 5th all-time high in 6 days. The Dow we talked about, sort of in last place of the three, came along and joined in on the fun as well. Snapped a 4-day losing streak. So having said that, the 10-year Treasury that we talked about, again, rallied. And think about it, the 10-year was at 4.7% just in late April, and right now it's about 4.28%. So a pretty big rally there in the bond market. What's happening, today is that the Census Bureau is going to release May retail sales data, and on Friday, manufacturing and services purchasing manager indexes for June will be released. So even though it's a quiet week, there's still a lot going on, and there's several Fed presidents talking today. Not sure what the rhetoric's going to be. They're still rather hawkish. We did see, I think, one or two just yesterday or late last week came out and said, okay, we're probably better positioned here for a rate cut.
Chuck, in terms of all these different reports that come out and indices and things, I'm not speaking, of course, about the Dow or the NASDAQ or S&P 500, but I think every single report that we get from here through November 5th is always going to be good news. It's my prediction. I didn't know what date it would start, but I think it has officially started now.
Okay. I thought maybe it's going to start.
I wanted to plant the flag on the Malamut Show just to see. Okay. And look, if inflation starts to tick up, I just don't think it will. I think the game right now is to just make things look better than they are.
Well, Harry, certainly I think if maybe you ought to roll that comment back to last week, on last Wednesday in particular, when CPI came out.
Beautifully came out.
And the FOMC also met as well. So when you look at consumer prices, and I don't think this comes as any surprise to your listeners, CPI was unchanged for the month of May. Core inflation did rise, but at less than expected, 0.2% for the month. CPI was up 3.3%, Harry, year over year, and at a 3.4% rate when you exclude food and energy. The closely watched core services, which is ex-housing, declined 0.04% in May, first negative reading that we've seen in almost 3 years. So you have soft producer price data that came on Thursday, and then this inflationary trend, it looks like might have been stalled here a little bit.
We're going to be right back. Please do not go away. He is Chuck Malamut for all of your financial planning needs. You can call 609-383-2010. 609-383-2010. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Much more important financial content straight ahead with Chuck Malamut, in my estimation, the best in the business, here on the Hurley in the Morning program. We're on July 1st. We will together technically we will do it on the 2nd, I think it is. But on July 1st, we will celebrate 32 years, this being one of the most longest running program segments in the history of New Jersey broadcasting. Back right after this. Don't go away.
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
It's well-balanced conversation.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Enable our skill and tell your smart speaker, play WPG.com. You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
I listen every morning.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. We continue. It's 20 minutes past the hour with Chuck Malamut talking all about your financial matters. Chuck, time is yours.
So, Harry, why don't we spend a minute and talk about what the Fed did after CPI came in the afternoon. Remember, the Fed met on Tuesday and Wednesday, and everyone had expected, and the Fed held true. They left rates as is, but there's a quarterly summary of economic projections, Harry. So that's called SEP, SEP, and that's what that's one of the projections that the Fed looks at, and it depicted a cautious mood among policymakers. So think about this. While, when the FOMC were last updated their forecast in March, the median expectation was for 3 cuts, interest rate cuts before the end of 24, and for core CPI to fall to about 2.6%. This past week, the Fed officials now penciled in, Harry, one rate hike. Fed officials penciled in only one decrease before the end of the year, and increased its inflation target to 2.8%. So Powell was pretty hawkish at the last meeting, but the market shook it off. And I think, again, remember, the market is looking beyond. It looks at the next 6, 12, 18 months in the future. And as a result of that, the expectation is that as we get into 2025, that everything that we're seeing is going to kind of catch up. And we've always talked about the Fed is always too late coming to the party just to get to the party, and always too late in leaving the party. And I think we're going to probably see that again here, because as we get into our discussion today, things are starting to soften, across many different sectors within our economy.
Chuck, are we on weekly initial jobless claims?
Harry, we are, and this is one of the reports that we look at every week. It comes Thursday at 8:30 a.m. And weekly. Think about it: weekly initial unemployment claims. So that's people that are filing, for the first time. Increased to 242,000. Harry, that was the highest that we have seen since last August. While we're still not at a high level on a comparative basis, the direction points to the economy slowing. Initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims the numbers continue to increase, each and every week, meaning basically more people are now unemployed, and for those that are looking for employment, it's getting tougher and tougher, to find employment of their liking. So, again, another item that the Fed is looking at, and I think that if we continue on that trend, again, I think there's a meeting in July, Harry, no meeting in August. Then we meet in September, and then we get very, very close to that first week in November with respect to your friends.
The economy. What can you say relative to the economy?
Well, Harry, the recent, we just mentioned weekly jobless claims, continuing jobless claims. The jobs report, that came for the month of May at 272,000, I believe was the number, some outrageous number, 100,000, almost 100,000 higher than expectations. But again, you look at what those numbers, where they came from. The bottom line is, Harry, the most recent string of U.S. economic releases are signaling now that our economy is losing momentum, and will eventually tip the economy into your favorite word, which begins with an R.
Recession.
So,
but that's not allowed before November 5th.
November 5th. There you go. Okay, sounds good, Harry.
No doubt in my mind. By the way, a quick little shout out. A great guest listener of the program, Ken the Gooch Catunia, celebrating a special birthday today. Happy birthday, Ken. We go back a lifetime. Chuck, historically, talk about what happens after the Fed cuts interest rates.
So remember the market. I mean, the market has been on a path, not a path, or have been basically calling for rate cuts for several months now, and the Fed,
and lots of them,
and the Fed has been obviously resistant because of the data points they point out for rate cuts really shouldn't be happening. But here, and I think we talked about this once just a couple months ago. So think about unemployment rate. We're 4% right now.
Yeah.
So when the Fed cuts rates and the unemployment rate is at 4% or lower, and that's only happened, Harry, it's been very, very rare. It's only happened 6 times in history. Performance in the equity markets after rate cuts with unemployment that is 5% or lower, basically have below average returns in the equity markets. Stocks typically do well after rate cuts when unemployment is high. Well, unemployment at 4%, and we don't know how. I mean, I guess is that really a true number? But at 4%, with a rate cut, the markets typically do not do well, at least historically speaking.
But politically, it sounds good, and I think for a short time, it's what the administration would want. And my prediction is that the market conditions do not warrant a rate decrease, but they're going to get one anyhow. That's my prediction, Chuck.
Well, Harry, I think the economy is getting pretty soft here in parts of. I mean, the only thing that.
How come the indices are doing so good?
Well, remember
they're lagging.
Or
they're forward rather.
Interest rates are a precursor at times to the equity markets. Rates are starting to come down. Not overnight money as we refer to it, or Fed fund money, but your 2-year, your 10-year, those rates are coming down, so the cost to borrow is less expensive. I think we saw somewhat of an uptick last week in mortgage applications. Housing is still an issue that we've talked about somewhat, but I think really
how is the lending spigot at the moment? Tight?
It's still tight, but I think what really it kind of led me right into the next thing I wanted to talk to you about,
that's what I do.
Which is the inverted yield curve. And Harry, I think a lot of your listeners really don't spend a lot of time following the bond market, and they should, because think about this: in the inverted yield curve occurs when yields on short-term treasuries, those rates are higher than what we're seeing with long-term treasuries. Historically, an inversion between the 2-year and the 10-year treasury has been viewed as a warning sign of an economic downturn, although this time, for now, it appears to be a little bit different. In fact, Harry, June marks the 23rd consecutive month, so almost 2 years of yield curve inversion.
That's unusual, isn't it?
It's very unusual, without a recession. The longest streak.
Well, we had a recession.
The longest streak on record. Now,
it's so unfair.
Well, so
go ahead.
Harry, you're getting me.
We had one.
Okay.
I mean, they changed the rules.
So listen, some investors feel like the inverted yield curve is here to stay. It's important to remember that this is not normal. Traditionally, the yield curve slopes upwards as investors are allocating more to these longer duration bonds. Higher volatility bonds demand additional compensation as well for the increased risk. So, I guess we're going to go 24 plus months, in July with respect to an inverted yield curve.
We are going to come right back with Chuck Malamut in just a few minutes. Please don't go away. This portion of the Hurley in the Morning program with Chuck Malamut, brought to us in part by Batteries Plus in Northfield and Mount Laurel. They're one of our WPG industry aces. So if you have a car, truck, marine, RV, camper, golf cart, ATV, mobility scooter, motorcycle, any type of vehicle with a battery, they've got you covered at Batteries Plus. If you need LED, emergency lighting, portable generator, surge protectors, if you are putting your storm season stuff together, which is a really good idea to do, Batteries Plus has them all. If you have a broken phone or tablet screen, they can fix it. If your cell phone battery needs replacement, you don't have to trash your phone. You can do what I did. Put a new battery in your phone, and then you're good to go. It will charge just like it did when it was brand new. If you have a watch or a key fob, they've got all the different batteries, and they do the replacements while you wait. You're not leaving your equipment at Batteries Plus. They'll do it right there. So if it's broken, bring it in. They fix it. Batteries Plus. Cracked screens, no problem. Charging ports, speakers, microphones, and in fact, we know someone that's going with their the port underneath the phone. They're going to Batteries Plus to take care of it. They can fix it. 900 Tilton Road in Northfield, Route 73 in Mount Laurel. Stop into one of their locations and enter to win a pair of tickets to see Journey and Def Leppard. We'll be right back after this.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
30 minutes past the hour with Chuck. I'm Harry. I have 3 stories that you can follow on the WPG Talk Radio 95.5 app. Next stop, grand jury. There's been some confusion about where things stand with the mayor of Atlantic City and the superintendent of public schools in Atlantic City, a husband and wife criminally charged. We have the details. Atlantic City, New Jersey residents shared with us the craziest, most exotic foods they've ever eaten. And next hour, we'll be talking about powerboat racing.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Hot stuff in the forecast all week long. Temperatures running upwards of 10 degrees above normal for this time of year, potentially flirting with record highs later this week. Lower 90s inland, 80 at the beaches today with hazy sunshine and passing clouds. Mainly clear tonight, low of 69. Tomorrow, just like today, partly sunny, hot and dry. Average high temperature around 86. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today. Here is an important safety.
Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're listening to Hurley in the Morning.
Egg Harbor Township. I'm from Margate.
Listen at home or in the office on your smart speaker. Just say, play WPG.
Brigantine.
Cape May.
Galloway.
Hurley in the Morning on South Jersey's talk station. WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Thank you. Welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. Chuck Malamut continues. He's talking all about your financial matters. This is going to be a good one. The 10 largest names in the S&P 500 and what happens next.
Harry, we have talked about the importance of the market broadening out, and we had seen it for several weeks, and now technology, large cap tech has basically taken the reins over and back in first place with respect to being the best performing sector in the S&P 500. But Harry, I think we need to be a little concerned here. So for the first time since we go back, to 2000, 3 U.S. stocks, Microsoft, NVIDIA, and Apple, account for more than 20% of the value of the S&P 500. 20%, 3 stocks.
Wow.
And it's even more. That's even more prominent, Harry, in the tech-heavy NASDAQ 100 index. Those 3 stocks, Harry, account for 41% of the index's value. So, it's great when you own those positions, but for the market, to have legs, so to speak, and to continue on its upward bias here, it's important that the other 497 stocks that
you
make
say
up
it's
the
great,
S&P.
but that would be great for now. It might not be great forever. So that's just you talk about all the time. You want proper allocation. not too much of one thing.
Absolutely. Now, granted, if you own those stocks, you're very, very happy
at the moment.
But again, I think one of the concerns that we have is the fact when you own a stock like a Microsoft or an Apple or a NVIDIA, and again, no stock recommendations here, it takes over a larger portion of your portfolio, and it's really important that you rebalance on a quarterly or semi-annual basis, to sort of trim it, as we say, and you add, you trim your winners and you add to those that haven't worked. But here's what's really happening, Harry. You know how, you look at a duck?
Yes.
And a duck.
I love ducks, as a matter of fact. I've got two.
And ducks are very calm.
Yeah.
And they just sort of swim in your pool, and you're looking underneath. I mean, their feet are going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what, Harry. That's what's happening.
Good analogy.
Within the market. When you look at at the surface of the S&P 500, it looks really good.
It's like it looks effortless, but it's not.
But in the last 3 months, Harry, more stocks have experienced a 10% daily swings that at almost any point in time ever. Only once in the last 25 years have individual stocks behaved this erratically, while the overall market remained placid. And when as we were getting ready for our discussion today, I immediately thought about your ducks as an example. I mean, they look very calm, very cool and collected, but underneath, man, they can't move those feet fast enough. And you think about it, you get a 10% movement in a stock on a daily basis. That's a big number, Harry. Big number.
Good stuff. That was a great analogy. Big tech. What can you say about big tech that hasn't been said, Chuck?
Well, Harry, I think we kind of covered that.
But it continues to grow.
It does continue to grow at a pace that is a little concerned for all of us. And it's something that we need to basically keep our eyes on as we get into the latter months of the summer and into the fall and early winter.
So, Chuck Malamut, listeners are investors, and they're looking at the market every day. They're looking at these records that are being set. What's really happening in the stock market?
Well, again, Harry, a lot of undercurrents, I guess, is the best way to look at it, where things on the surface look really good. But again, remember, it goes back. We talked about those three stocks before. What's happening to the other 497? I mean, we have, I'm going to say 98% complete with earnings for the quarter. Take a little bit of rest here. We're getting into the summer. June 30, Harry, right around the corner. July 1, the beginning of the third quarter. And as we get to, say, July 10 or 12, right after the holiday, we're going to be looking at earnings for for the third quarter. The times go very, very quickly. I mean, we look at the second quarter earnings, Harry. Time goes by very, very quickly.
This is such a great question because this is a great debate right now in our country. There are a lot of people who believe that the cost of higher education, now that it takes 5 years for almost everyone and not 4, adds even more costs, that it's exorbitant, that college doesn't seem to be preparing folks for the vocation that they want to have for the rest of their life. Is higher education even worth it at this point?
Harry, I think you're starting to see the tide shift here a little bit. When you look at education, you have these ever-increasing tuition costs, and we have talked about this ad nauseum. How many times have we talked about this, Harry? And costs just keep going higher and higher. Mounting student debt, we have focused on that. It seems like almost every other show that we're together. The confidence that Americans are seeing within the higher education system is really starting to falter here somewhat, Harry. almost 30% of U.S. adults right now are saying that college isn't worth the cost, and 50% are saying that the cost of college is worth it, but only without taking loans. To get that, 50% say it's worth it.
All right,
but
so who can, if you have rich parents, what college kid can afford to go to college and not take loans?
So
we're talking like $50,000 and more a year.
So that goes back to where we started.
I'm going to tell you something.
Talking about this today.
We're going to have, I'm predicting this on the Malamut show, then we have to go to the break. We're going to have a great reset in our country, and the whole economies of scale are going to have to be looked at. Their salaries, they're exorbitant. The costs are just unbelievable. That was a wonderful soliloquy. As long as you can pay it without having to take a loan out, it's worth it. But that's only if the child has parents that can pay the college.
That, or which is not being discussed. Will colleges ever look at reducing their costs?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
To make it more affordable.
That's what I just said. Yes, we're going to have a great reset. Something is going to have to dramatically give here because this is not sustainable.
Do you think that's going to happen?
I think it will happen if we have a cultural change where companies aren't requiring it and you can get gainful employment by experience without having it. I think a reason a lot of people go is the social emotional aspect of going away to college. And because to be competitive, you used to have the degree. Then it became just a BS or a BA wasn't good enough. You had to have like a master's degree and beyond, and people going above and above and above and beyond. And I think they have priced themselves out of the ordinary society.
Well, pricing is one thing. But the other question is what is being taught? Whether it, whether it's Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science, and the question is,
they're coming out with degrees that don't even allow them to get a job.
And the courses that you're taking, are they meaningful in what you're going to be doing in a career? I mean, chances are,
in many cases, no.
And I
think the kids that are business administration study majors, that's good coursework. You take principles of accounting. You're taking things you actually can use in business life. Some of these other ones are artsy fartsy and just not preparing anybody for anything. I think you raise the biggest question that has to be answered. What and then you have students that go and then they change their major and change it again. I think the whole thing's become a mess.
All right, well, hold on a second. You had a career change.
Yes.
And I had a career change.
But every career change we had, if you were hotel management, I took business administration studies. I believe that our education, and we didn't have any indoctrination going on. You were the bear. You were doing good in school. I had to throw that in. And it was different. Now I think there's a lot of people taking coursework that doesn't prepare them.
Exactly. That's the point.
We didn't do that.
And no disrespect to college professors, but a lot of them are not teaching. They have teaching assistants or they're online, and it's just, I would, Harry, what an exercise to undertake here. The hourly cost of a college student attending a class.
See, I think all the courses that you take, and I don't mean this totally all, but all the courses you take, except for maybe one elective. Like I had a cool class, and I still remember, he passed away not that long ago, Inventions, Creativity, and Reasoning. That didn't prepare me for business, but it was a great class, and it did teach you creative, thinking, and we did projects. that had to work. You had to build things and bring them in and do a demonstration in front of the class. So I think it was good in that respect. I'd like the idea of the courses you take actually being applicable to being successful in the business world, and maybe have an occasional elective in there that's unrelated to business administration studies or something like that, but can't be the dominant thing where you come out with some degree that does not transfer into any type of life.
100.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100%. Harry.
Final break. We're going to be right back. For all of your financial planning needs, turn to the exclusive financial advisor for the Hurley in the Morning program, Chuck Malamut, 609-383-2010. We'll be right back. 47 minutes past the hour. It's flying by.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
Honesty and transparency, is not afraid to get down and dirty and really just tell me the truth.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. Hurley in the Morning.
It's breaking news that I can trust.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Welcome back. Chuck Malamut continues talking all about your financial matters. We have a great discussion coming up right after the break. Powerboat racing returns to Atlantic City for the first time in 6 years, and we're going to be talking all about it with Tom Foley coming up. And Tom will introduce Nick, his guest. We're going to have a great time together. Oh, this is interesting. I like this one, Chuck. This is the proverbial semi-retired is the new retired, because the new normal didn't let people, I know, I got you to laugh. I like that, Chuck. The new normal doesn't let you do what for generations people have been able to do. They try to retire, but they realize they can't, so they become semi-retired. But in fairness, though, there are people that do like continuing to work.
Harry, I'm not laughing at the topic.
I know.
I'm laughing
the new normal
because I'm thinking of our friend Kirk.
I know.
And he is now sort of taken ownership of the new normal.
The new normal, yeah.
Okay, because I've heard it, a lot of, I've heard it from him several times after the browbeating that you and Kirk gave me, took me out to the woodshed several years ago.
Here's the reality. You've known me for most of my life, Chuck, since I was barely 20. There's very few things that I dislike. There's very few things that I despise. I despise the term new normal. I despise it.
Harry, not a fan, but here's what's happening. Over 50%, it's actually about 55%, Harry, of American households right now are drawing, the retirement income while they're, quote, partially retired. They're either continuing to work, several hours a week, or by having one spouse retire. Many retirees right now are working part-time, are not earning much. However, they may begin drawing from their nest egg before they fully retire. So again, it kind of reiterates exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Some people want to work.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
I'd love to know the numbers. I think you've talked about it on your show before, but I'd love to know the numbers of what percentage of people that could be retired that aren't retired is because they don't want to be retired. For me, if you want to keep working, wonderful. That's great. But if you want to retire but you can't, that's another story. That is very sad.
But I think there's a lot to be said about staying in the game.
Oh, yeah, I think what they say, if you don't change, you're dying, and I think that I see it a lot. People that retire kind of lose that edge.
It goes back to staying active physically as well.
Yep.
Whether it's it's walking or or riding your bike or participating at the gym. I mean, granted, you're not going to lift the kind of weights you lifted 30, 40 years ago, but just the routine and
keep moving.
And you keep the cardiovascular going. I think and here at work, it keeps the brain working.
I've never articulated on your show before. I've done it, I think, during monologues that I've done, but I want to say on the Malamut show, just 20 seconds. The reason I don't like the term new normal to me means that's accepting failure. That, like, for example, when it was 1% growth with Obama, they wanted to keep him in. They want to make excuses for failure. So they say it's the new normal. We can't grow at 3% and beyond anymore. I said, oh, no. Change the president, and that whole thing goes out the window. And boom, we changed the president, and we went beyond 3, no problem. How high did it go? It went well beyond 3. So I don't like that term because it excuses failure.
Agreed, Harry.
Final topic, value versus growth, domestic versus international.
So, Harry, we talked about, how large cap growth here in the U.S. has done fantastic compared to your value stocks. On the flip side, overseas investors have been finding more success with value stocks versus growth stocks. If you go back and look at the last year in particular, Harry, international value stocks outperformed international growth stocks by more than 3%. In contrast to what's happened here in the U.S., value stocks underperformed U.S. growth stocks by about 12% during that same time period. Now, is international in front of domestic here in the U.S.? Is U.S. continuing to take the charge? I don't want to wrap that interest rate cuts that are happening outside the U.S., in Canada in particular, but are we still in the lead? Are we still the lead dog, I guess, is the question at the end of the day.
Well, look, who is it? Oh, gosh, I'm forgetting which one. Is it Venezuela? Somebody is not using the dollar as their backup currency. And that's something that I think...
Well, I think you guys talked about it last hour. Brazil, Russia, India...
but somebody's actually already done it.
Yeah, I'm
and these
a blank
others,
here.
Saudi Arabia is part of it. Mm-hmm. They're all talking. All the ones you mentioned and Saudi Arabia are talking about not having the dollar as the backup currency.
Yeah, agreed.
This is a problem, Chuck. Don't you think?
Yeah, but Harry, let me. I think we got a minute here.
We do.
Let's talk about Canada since we just kind of talked around it. It's we talk about taxes here and how tax rates seem to be high or higher than what they've been in the past. Recently, Canada has proposed a increase in their country's capital gains taxes, Harry. Under this plan, 50% of the first $250,000 in capital gains, that's what they're going to be paying. 50% tax on the first $250,000 in capital gains an individual taxpayer earns would be taxed. Now we're like in the low to mid 20s.
Is this the IRS ending this tax loophole? Or
that's something different.
Because this isn't good either.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay.
And now, and when you go beyond $250,000 in Canada, 2/3 is going to be tax. I mean, you're gonna have like a 70% tax here.
Wow.
So anyway,
Chuck, thank you for a wonderful visit.
Harry, thanks for having me. Good luck with the golf.
Thank you for your support.
You're welcome, and we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to Chuck Malama present his discussion all about your financial matters. This is presented and sponsored.
From Harry Hurley Way in the world's playground to the broadcast pioneers of Philadelphia Hall of Fame, you're about to find out why Harry Hurley has been named to the Talkers Magazine list of the 100 most important talk show hosts in the nation. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. I'm very excited about the time we're going to be spending with Tom and with Nick, and I will let Tom do the honors of introducing the vice president. But this much I do know. World-class powerboat racing is returning to Atlantic City for the first time in 6 years, which is awesome. Anybody that's ever witnessed, it's a spectacle. It's amazing. The sight, the sound, the speed. The Atlantic City Grand Prix is the first event of the Offshore Powerboat Association Championship Series on the northern east coast of the United States. It's wildly exciting, and it is a great spectator sport. With that little preamble, Tom Foley, welcome, and you do the honors.
Harry, thanks for having me. And I just want to start out by saying I'm sorry, I'm going to miss your golf tournament first time in 17 years.
Well,
so
you get an excused, Tom, you get an excused absence because you're doing something very important.
Yeah, I just want to, just quick little story. It's funny, I worked with Nick and his dad, Smitty, for years ago when I was OEM director, and I was down in Florida at this restaurant called Sailor's Retreat in Stewart, Florida, and I saw this boat pull up, a speedboat, and it was, "What's up?" And I said, that can't be no other person but Smitty. So I said, I walked out on the dock, and I said, "Smitty, we'd love to get you back in Atlantic City." He said, "We love to come there." So without further ado, I want to introduce, this is and Smitty's a world champion. Well, I'll introduce another world champion, and that's Nick Smith, the vice president of OPA. And we not only have the powerboat racing, but we're bringing back something else that's very, very exciting. Do you remember the old Jersey speed skiffs?
Yes.
That we used to have? Well, we're bringing those back in front of Harrah's Casino Hotel on Saturday. I'll let Nick fill you in with all the details, but he's also vice president of that association. So we're going to have two spectacular races and spectacular pits and unbelievable. So with further ado, here's Nick Smith.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Harry. Thank you, Tom. And Harry, I just want to say thank you for your time this morning. And we're really excited about bringing this event back. This was back in the late 80s and early 90s. This was the World Championships for offshore powerboat racing. Wow. And we had a short tenure here from 2010 to 2016. And we're just can't tell you how happy we are to be back. We live here. This is our backyard, and we're stoked to be in our home waters.
So tell people, what is powerboat racing? What do they have the opportunity to come out and witness?
So I call it beautiful violence. It's some of these boats, when you walk up to them, they're $2 million, $2.5 million, and they look like something that belong in a museum. And we go out in the ocean and absolutely destroy them every other weekend.
Oh my gosh!
And it's one of the most amazing things I think you can be around. It's the people involved. They're in it for passion. It's a big passion project all the way around. Myself, I do this with my family, and we promote a pretty big national series up and down the eastern seaboard, and just stoked to have our crown jewel back in Atlantic City.
We were here doing the program during your last run, and I remember doing interviews about this, and I just wrote that term that you said, Nick, beautiful violence, in my daytimer. I think that is a great description.
It's, from shore, watching the boats go by in the ocean's a lot like watching a plane fly overhead. It's hard sometimes to get a reference of how fast something's actually moving because there's no backdrop. And these boats now, with today's technology, you can get on the live broadcasts or from any of our social media platforms and see inside these boats what's actually going on. And beautiful violence is, in my opinion, the most accurate description. These guys are professionals, and they go out there and they put their lives on the line, quite frankly, and all in an effort to be the fastest guy on the water that day. And it's a beautiful thing. It's violent. It's loud. It's fast. It's everything adrenaline junkies love.
I wrote in a piece yesterday that the raw speed of these high-powered boats will be on full display, and spectators will be able to view the action from the world-famous Atlantic City Beach and Boardwalk. People, I know you know this, Nick, people love this. It's everything that I think people enjoy. They're beautiful to look at. They're so fast. The sound, just power, all of it. And some of the fastest anywhere will be here, correct?
I pulled into I have a marina in Brick, New Jersey. I pulled in on Monday morning, and there was already two 40-foot catamarans sitting there from Doug Wright Powerboats down in Florida. And those boats are two of the top-of-the-line boats competing anywhere in the country. They're powered by Mercury 450R racing outboards. And they're about 135 mile an hour. And there's boats even faster, boats that you'll remember like Miss Geico.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Geico exited the sport, but they've rebranded. And there's boats like that coming this weekend. JBS comes to mind, which is sponsored by 16 Power, which is unique engines. They're two 427 LS GM motors literally welded together to create a 16-cylinder engine. And they have two of them. So There's some serious high-powered equipment coming, and I'm also the vice president of Jersey Shore Boat Racing, which is JSBR, and that's the Jersey Speed Skiffs and Speed Garvies, which can only be found at the Jersey Shore. And
hey, Nick, I got to jump in. My father had an expression about if you want something done right, you give it to a busy person. You are doing a lot, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's for me. It's see, I didn't have a choice. From the day I was born, I was involved in these sports. Not necessarily the Jersey Speed Skiffs. I come from the offshore side of the world, but I didn't have a choice. This is my life's work. This is my life's passion, and just I can't put into words how excited I am to be operating this in my own backyard.
Let me pose a question, Nick, and Tom. Please, time is yours. You lead this interview, but I want to ask this question about the boats and the ocean and the conditions. I'm always just blown away at the speed and their ability, to stay in the water. I mean, one wrong move and you're airborne. How tough is that, Nick, for them to do what they do?
It's, in these ocean races, sometimes it's not the fastest boat or the most talented driver. It's just the toughest person in the boat that day. Because like on this Sunday, right now our forecasts are 15-mile-an-hour winds with gusts of 25. You could see 5 to 8 foot waves out there. And these boats, it's not like pleasure boating at home. When you see a big wave coming or an obstacle, you can slow down, go around it, assess the situation. In our situation, we're wide open from start to finish. And whatever we hit. And it's up to the driver in the boat to negotiate it as well as possible. And things do happen. Boats do flip upside down and break in half and crash and smash. And it's a violent, dangerous sport. We do have some of the best medical professionals in the world covering us. We have, a dozen paramedic jump divers that are in helicopters on boats and stationed around the course strategically to come get us should something happen. But it's very difficult, Harry. It's one of those things where you don't really have time to be scared. You just have to react, or it might cost you.
Nick Smith is visiting with us with Tom Foley. We're talking about powerboat racing returning to Atlantic City this weekend. It's so exciting. Tom, and we can get this in and then we'll go to break and we'll come back. What does powerboat racing mean to Atlantic City having this back, in your opinion?
Harry, I think it's one of the premier sports. Not only that, it'll bring a lot of people who have, frankly, a lot of money to come to our town and enjoy not only the casino hotels, our great restaurants around the city of Atlantic City, but an environment that's spectacular. One of the things we wanted to do, but unfortunately we couldn't get it done this year, but look forward in the future because Nick has and Smitty have said that they made a 5-year commitment to come to the city. So you may see a boat parade like they have in Key West, Florida, going right down Atlantic Avenue.
A flotilla.
And, throughout the city. Yeah, a flotilla. And so the people of Atlantic City can enjoy the racing. And our race fans will be coming here. We're expecting somewhere around 20 to 30,000 fans just coming for this race and increasing what we have. We have Steel Pier is going to be one of the premier locations for the event. There's going to be 3 different spots up on the pier by the Ferris wheel, on the end of the pier, and then a pier off the Ferris wheel. So you'll be able to see this very up close and personal. We also have the Ocean Casino Hotel, which has been one of the fantastic sponsors for us. So it looks very, very good for us. We're asking for more sponsors to come in. We have availability in our pits, and we want to bring everybody to our pits. And we have we're selling pit locations, so you can put a 10 by 10 tent up and sell whatever you want to sell. And to do it right now, call Lisa Johnson Communication at 609-464-0448. And believe me, we're going to see some fantastic pits in there. You'll get up close and personal with the racers like Nick. And, I mean, these are world champions, Harry. It's unbelievable. So I'm so happy and excited to help bring it back to Atlantic City. And I'll tell you, there's some class people in this organization which you're really going to like and really enjoy meeting them.
I've been really excited about this interview. I'm so happy that we're spending this time together. And just to let our listeners know, I remember when I first wrote about this a number of months ago, we touched on the fact that this special event is a collaboration of the Offshore Powerboat Association, Visit Atlantic City, who I know, Larry Sieg and their entire team, very bullish about this, the Atlantic City Sports Commission, and Tom mentioned the Atlantic City casino industry. We'll be right back. Don't go away with Nick Smith, Tom Foley. I am Hurley in the Morning. We'll be right back.
You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Established, reputable.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. Hurley in the Morning.
They really do separate fact from fiction.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
Hey, thank you. It's 22 minutes past the hour, visiting with Tom Foley and with Nick Smith, and we're talking about the fact that powerboat racing is returning to Atlantic City after a number of years. Tom, let me turn it over to you. Anything that you want to share that you think our listeners need to know about?
Like I say, you can see this from anywhere along the beaches and boardwalk in Atlantic City. We have spectacular locations where you can see it up close and personal on the piers, especially Steel Pier and at Ocean Casino Hotel. So please come out and witness an absolutely fantastic event. And don't forget to stop by the pits. The pits will be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we're going to have live racing, and Nick will fill you in on that, how you can get in on the simulcasting. But on the deck at the Golden Nugget, you can up close and meet the racers. They will be there on Saturday, and they will also be there Sunday after the race. But we'll have them up there during the race. There'll be a large TV screen set up by Golden Nugget, which they've been fantastic for us. We like to thank Jimmy Zaris and Kevin Skull and Tom. So they're just fantastic people, and this is the type of thing we want to bring back to Atlantic City. Events are very important, and I'm so happy to have the association with Nick and his dad, Smitty.
Hey, Nick, in terms of this kind of sport and how well, I believe, it fits in Atlantic City, much like I don't want to compare it, but the Atlantic City Air Show works beautifully. I don't know anybody that would disagree with that comment. I mean, the venue is perfect. So many people can gather. It's spectacular. Beach viewing, boardwalk viewing. You can actually view in the ocean as well in certain areas that are not within the restricted area. So it is spectacular. I would say ditto to powerboat racing. Atlantic City is a great venue for this, isn't it, Nick?
It is, and what makes it so special, I think, it's the fans. Powerboat racing going back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s, which were the heyday of this sport. That was when it was just getting off the ground and it was brand new. Nobody had seen boats like this before, and this was one of the hot spots. The Benihana, which was the Super Bowl for offshore powerboat racing for a lot of years, operated out of Point Pleasant. So what you get when you come to Atlantic City is not just fans, which are people that just want to see the boats, meet the drivers, but fans that remember where these boats came from, remember what the boat was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. They're real fans of the sport, and that's what makes it so fun. Tom's mentioned a bunch that you can come down to the pits and meet the drivers and get in these boats, and you really can. And that's the beautiful part about this sport. None of us take ourselves too seriously. We know where we are and what we're doing. We really enjoy what we do, and a lot of that is involving the fans. Every time we pick up a little 5-year-old kid and stick him in the canopy and let him play with the steering wheel, and we create another boat racer. That's how a lot of us got started. I know that's how I got started. I was a little kid, got dropped in one of these things, and said, "Man, I got to do this one day." And that's the beautiful part of Atlantic City is the fans, the people, obviously the venue. The boardwalk there is second to none. I mean, I might be biased because I'm from here, but to be on that boardwalk watching something like this, it's a special location.
Nick, a lot of people are writing me during the interview in real time saying such things as, how dangerous is this sport? Or this is really dangerous, isn't it? So questioning the danger factor. You did touch on that earlier in the interview. This is no joke. This is serious business. It is a dangerous sport, isn't it?
Very, very. It's at the end of the day, it's like being in 1,000 car accidents in 40 minutes.
Wow.
Every time we come off of one of these waves, we're all running between 60 and 150 miles an hour, depending on the class. And most people can't understand 60 miles an hour in 8-foot waves. Our smallest class in offshore is called Class 7. They're my personal favorite. They're 22-foot boats, single-engine outboards, and they are some of the toughest people on the race course at any given time. They go out there and race in those wave conditions, the same conditions that I'll go out and race a 40-foot V-bottom in. They'll go out there and race that 22-foot boat, and they are tough. And at the end of a race, these guys can hardly lift their arms. They're so tired from trying to keep the boat straight. And things happen. It's at 60 miles an hour. Your life is definitely in your hands. It's I can't overstate it.
Nick, a driver. I'm just sort of presuming that, which I don't know, but I'm just suspecting this is probably true. They cannot let their guard down for 1 second. Their attention, I imagine they're physically exhausted, but also the mental aspect, because they have to be on it every single moment, correct?
Yeah, you can't take a break. So I just, in Highlands, New Jersey, we had our opening race, which was kind of our preseason kickoff. And I was racing there with a friend of mine. And we were in a boat race that wasn't supposed to be a boat race. It was me and a guy I'd competed against for about a dozen years. And we just went out to put on a show. We had two boats that were in two completely different classes, but we decided we were going to take a shot at each other today.
So you tell me it's like Apollo Creed, Ivan Drago. This is supposed to be an exhibition.
Very similar. The green flag went up, and for most of us, when that green flag goes up, something in us just changes. We do things in these boats that we would never do normally. A lot of it is the safety factor, going out there and knowing that we have people watching over us. You put that helmet on, you close that canopy lid, and you feel bulletproof. And we went out there, and we had 10 laps of absolute war in the Shrewsbury River. And at the end of it, I was doing an interview with a magazine there and had explained to them that for 40 minutes I questioned whether or not I was going to get out of this boat today. There was never a point in time where I felt in control. The boat was absolutely driving me. And that's something that I think the general public doesn't understand, that I wish there was a better way to convey.
So in other words, Nick, you take chances, right?
You have to, yeah. I mean, listen, all of us that are getting in these boats this weekend, we're all extremely talented. We're some of the best in the world as far as boat handlers. And to see, like, for the difference between first and second place be something like a 25 to 30 second gap. To understand the talent difference between those two positions, to put 30 seconds on who's probably the second best in the world today is one of the most challenging feats in any sport. Because it's not just managing your equipment, it's not just running your boat. It's also the punishment that your body's taking. And as the race goes on, the fatigue sets in, and it becomes a mental battle. You'll start to look for every excuse to stop. Oil pressure falling off in a motor, fuel pressure falling off, whatever the case may be. The weaker mindset loses, and the strong mind prevails. And it's a sport that really encompasses all aspects.
I mean, obviously one crash and the question's answered. But how long does a powerboat actually last? How long because obviously it's got to be able to hold up and all of this. How long do they last?
So believe it or not, we still have boats racing with us that were built in the 70s.
Wow.
Quite frankly, the old adage, they don't build them like they used to, is very true.
So do you actually prefer the older boats to race today, or is the modern equipment necessary to be competitive?
The modern equipment's necessary to go fast. The older boats are very heavy construction. They're great for the ocean. This weekend, you're going to see one of the best teams in the world, Saris Racing Engines. They race in what's called Class 4, which is an 85-mile-an-hour class, and they'll be running a 1981 Cobra. And if I had to put my money somewhere, it would be on them. And for the sole reason that they have a true offshore boat. That boat was built to race in races back in the day where they ran 100 miles, and they went from Point Pleasant, New Jersey to Fire Island, New York. And they raced through the Gulf Stream. They raced through 20-footers in the Bahamas. I mean, these boats were built to really take a beating. whereas the modern technology is built with these modern composites now, like carbon fiber or Kevlar, where they're very strong, but they're very light. And they're great, but they don't hold up like the older boats. If you flip one over, you generally catastrophically damage it. But the upside to that is with things like Mercury's new outboard series or any of our, like our standard big block packages, you could drop in and run over 120 miles an hour in these boats any day.
Wow. Tom, anything else you haven't had the opportunity to talk about?
Yeah, one of the things I slipped my mind was we also have the cruising from the Gardner's Basin is also taking teams out. So if you want to contact Jeff George over at the cruising, and he'll be able to get a spot for you on that boat so you can watch the races up close and personal right from the ocean. And we're expecting a large group of pleasure boat people to be out there in the safe zone. So come on out and enjoy. Take your boat out. Hopefully it won't be too windy and too rough out there, but if you can, enjoy from the ocean, from the boardwalk, from the piers, from the TVs. You'll really see a fantastic race, and believe me, we're so happy to have it back.
Tom, I'm really happy you mentioned Cruisin' One because I did not know that Captain Jeff George was going to be a part of this. What a venue that will be.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. And what happens is he came on board and he was thrilled about it from the very, very beginning. And frankly, he called me up so many times about it. It was incredible. But
Tom, I just thought of something. This is perfect. It's like the universe is the yin yang. It's like the universe is in balance. Foley is missing the first ever in 17 years Hurley in the Morning Charity Golf Opens. Captain Jeff George is playing in his first ever. So the first year you miss, he's playing. The world is in balance, Tom.
The world is in balance. And it's funny, Jeff's father taught one of our guys, Chris, at Christopher, and it is just amazing what a small world we all live in.
Without a doubt. I'm going to take a break. I'm just going to check with our guests. If you guys just hang for a moment, because I want to give each of you an opportunity just for a closing segment. Tom, go over the particulars, when, where. Obviously, we know where, but when, where, and then and Nick, I got to tell you, not only are you terrific in the sport, but you are magnificent in terms of communication of your sport, which I think a lot of people listening know that because you can be great at something, but not be great about discussing it. Nick, you're a double threat. You've got both. You can do it, and you do a great job presenting. So I want to give each of you a closing mini segment to just close out with anything you want, including restating some of the particulars so that we can help generate, as much interest as we possibly can. I refer our listeners to the digital platform of WPG Talk Radio 95.5. We've written 2 different articles about this weekend's fabulous event, so you can check that out as well. So, guys, if you can hold on, we'll come right back for one more segment straight ahead. Then we'll get you out of here.
Starting your day the right way with Hurley in the Morning.
We need to just listen to the facts.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5. WPG Talk Radio 95.5. You're waking up with Hurley in the Morning.
Makes me think about things a little bit differently.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
We are back 39 minutes past the hour, visiting with Tom Foley and with Nick Smith on the occasion, the run-up to world-class powerboat racing returning to Atlantic City. Very exciting, the Atlantic City Grand Prix. Tom, share the basic information of, who, what, where, and then I want to get a nice closing comment from Nick as well. Tom first.
Okay, well, the pits are going to be open on Friday, and anytime during the day, we should open them up about 11, 12 o'clock, and you can come in and meet the drivers, see the spectacular boats up close and personal, and that will be in the A lot of Golden Nugget Casino Hotel. And we also will have the race on Saturday with the Speed Garveys and the Jersey Speeds, because I believe it's starting around 10 o'clock. You have to ask Nick about that. And basically, we got a spectacular viewing area there right along the boardwalk at Harrah's. And we like to thank Harris for allowing us to use that boardwalk in front of their casino, which overlooks the bay right there by the Brigantine Bridge, which will be our course. And then, of course, on Sunday, the race will start around 11 o'clock, and we have the racers will be outside from the Steel Pier all the way down at the pier at Caesars, and then they'll be making that turn and coming back, and you can see them up close and personal. Like Nick said before, the racers used to go off 100 miles. I was in a couple of those races with Eddie Sims, and I'll tell you, Nick's right, it does give you a beating. But those particular races will be running on Saturday and Sunday. And then again, we like to thank our sponsors. Certainly the Golden Nugget Casino Hotel. Visit Atlantic City has been terrific. Everyone on the staff, with Larry Sig and Gary Muchik and Danny Gallagher, they've been fantastic. But we also need a lot of sponsors to keep this thing going. So we're asking our sponsors to contact Lisa Johnson Communications, 609-464-0448. And again, the cruising is a spectacular place to see it. And Nick will fill you in on how to look at this on simulcasting on TV. And again, we're going to have racing events over at the Golden Nugget Casino Hotel on the deck. So come on over. There's be live music playing and having a good time and meet the racers up close and personal.
So it's like I've used the term carnival, but I don't mean it like with the tents and and all that. But it's a carnival-like atmosphere, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's what we want to do.
Good, Nick.
I laugh. I call it my traveling circus.
There you go. I hit it. I hit a bullseye there. Didn't know it.
It's very similar. but no, to piggyback on Tom there, our title sponsor for the event is the Ocean Casino Resort, and I just want to thank those guys. Without them, we wouldn't have got this one done. And please, everybody listen to this. Come down to the Golden Nugget Friday, Saturday. Check out some of these boats. Meet the racers. Everybody's very cool. They'll let you in the boat, sign autographs. They have shirts for sale. Grab yourself an event shirt. We branded the event the War at the Shore this year, which is a little tip of the cap to the old school War Offshore, which was the old World Championships here. And I just want to elaborate a little bit on the event on Friday and Saturday. If you come down and meet some of these racers and meet some of these teams, I just want to be clear. It's a free admission event. We don't charge anybody to come check out these boats. We don't charge for any of the viewing locations. We really want as much exposure and visibility on these events as possible. It's not about making money. It's about growing the sport. And I just a little pro tip for fans: come down and meet these drivers and pick out your favorite team. That way, you got somebody to watch on Sunday, and really get familiar with these guys, because we're going to be here for the next 5 years.
Good stuff, Tom. Anything left on the table that has to be said?
Harry, I just want to thank you and your listeners for giving us the opportunity to bring this race back to Atlantic City, and your guys on your radio station have been spectacular.
Oh, Tom, it's our pleasure. This is great. We're a team, and I can tell by your dialogue today, Tom, and by Nick's. And I'll post this real quick to Nick in closing. The city and all the different folks, people have really cooperated for this, it seems.
Absolutely. I've run these events in places where it's a struggle to get it done. This is anything but that. The city's been phenomenal. The Coast Guard, the Marine Police, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, everybody involved, the FAA. It's been one big group effort to make this happen, not put roadblocks in the way for me, and I can't tell everybody how appreciative I am of that. This city's been way behind this event from day one, and now that we're just a couple days away, we're getting pretty stoked.
Nick, awesome to talk to you. Wishing you just fabulous success, because you deserve it. And Tom, great to be with you always, my friend.
Thank you, Harry.
See you guys.
Hey, Harry, thank you.
Pleasure. See you, Tom. See you, Nick. 45 minutes past the hour. When we come back, how about you feel free to call me right now? Bonus open forum at 609-407-1450. Open forum means anything that you want to talk about. You don't have to talk about what we've been talking about. Bring up anything that's important to you. That makes it important to us. 609-407-1450. You can call me right now. This is...
You're waking up with Hurley in the morning.
Egg Harbor Township, Ocean City,
Brigantine,
Mays Landing.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5 and the WPG Talk Radio app. WPGG Atlantic City, WENJ HD3 Millville, a Town Square media station.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than what we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with a proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
Hurley in the morning.
Harry Hurley is the only person on the radio who isn't afraid to speak the truth about what's really happening in Atlantic City.
WPG Talk Radio 95.5.
All right, let's do what we do best, and that is two-way talk radio. We own it. You get the lease with the option to buy, and we have the best open forum two-way talk in the history of the New Jersey metro market. We'll demonstrate that right here, right now. 609-407-1450. We have an open phone line. Welcome to Hurley in the Morning. You're on the air. Thanks for checking in.
Hi, good morning, Harry. Thanks for taking my phone call.
Pleasure.
So the whole thing with this, the first debate, June 27th, do you think it's the Democrats getting desperate? Like, that's why they're going to give, like, Joe Biden a lifeline? They figure, okay, we're going to see if he can throw a Hail Mary kind of thing. And
well, this is a very great point that you're making. Here's my take, and it won't take me but a moment. Then you tee it up after that. Here's what I think. It's early for a couple of reasons, and it works for both those that don't want Biden to be the nominee and those that want him to be the nominee. It gives him an early chance to see if he's still got a fastball, if he's still got anything left in the tank. And if it's so early, because this is incredibly early, they're not even the nominees yet. So that's ridiculous. But it's early on purpose because if it's a disaster, it will be forgotten. If it's a total disaster, then you have Obama and Clinton's and, the rest of the Peanuts gallery that will try to push him out. So if he completely falters, this is going to be a big problem for him, and they will move to replace him. So those are my working theories. Having it early works for all of those reasons.
Yeah, I think that I think Trump's the rules are going to be good for Trump because he won't be able to talk over Biden. He'll be able to get his points out. But I think he needs to lay out his agenda for what he wants to do for the next 4 years. I think he needs to stop looking in the past, stop bringing up the 2020 election, and show what he wants to do as far as fixing the economy.
Hey, listen, in all fairness, and I've been watching everything he's been doing, I can't even tell you the last time he brought up the 2020 election. He hasn't even mentioned it, which is smart. Just go win now.
And the other thing I was going to say is, I don't know if maybe I mentioned it before, maybe I didn't, but you ever heard the name Colonel Allen West from Texas? He used to be a congressman.
I've interviewed him probably 50 times.
Right. He's really knowledgeable. I heard him on Brian Kilmeade. He's on there every couple times a week.
That's where I usually wind up interviewing him and I'm filling in for Brian next Tuesday. I guess it's technically this upcoming Tuesday, but next Tuesday.
Okay.
And he's been on a lot with us on Brian's show.
I think he'd be a strong VP choice. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely, but he will not be. Trump tipped his hand. He said the other day that his VP choice was likely in the room, which means it's going to be a member of Congress. I think it's likely going to be a senator. And right now, I think J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio are 1 and 2. There is the issue of Rubio living in Florida, which would mean in a close election, the Florida delegates wouldn't be able to vote for Rubio because the Constitution talks about a president and a vice president not being from the same state. I think that's stupid, by the way.
Right. And
so that is an issue, and it might prevent him. Plus, it's a state that Trump is going to win anyhow. I think it was Dom Giordano. I was on, and Dom is going to do a show again from our studio coming up today at noon for 3 hours, noon to 3. Dom, when he was interviewing me yesterday, brought up about picking someone who can bring you a state that you otherwise wouldn't win.
Right.
And that's
what I was getting at. I was saying like Texas because Texas is turning purple, and that's why I thought that was a good pick for him.
No, Texas is not. Texas is a Republican win for Trump. He needs to pick like maybe somebody from Wisconsin. Pick somebody from a state that you weren't expecting to win, and then it's like when JFK picked LBJ because he had to have the state of Texas or Nixon would have won the election. So that's the play he should make.
And how do you feel about that whole thing where he doesn't want to tax your tips? You think that has any chance of passing the light of day, or you think he could do that?
Well, you need Congress to do that. So tell me, on November 5th, if Republicans win the Senate, and they absolutely should, it would be a shocker. Democrats are defending so many seats. The House is in jeopardy because the margin's so thin. They got this abortion issue that they tee up. So this could be one of those things where they win the Senate, lose the House, and have the presidency. I hope not, because Hakeem Jeffries would be a nightmare. The Democrat media would make him a shadow president. It would be absolutely terrible. So let's pray. Let's pray.
I agree.
But if they get all of the branches, it's a good shot that could happen. I think Democrats might even filibuster it in the Senate. The party that loves taxes. So it won't be easy, but Trump cannot do it by executive order.
Right. And this is, I'll say one last point, I have callers. But the thing that gets me upset about the Republicans in the House is that the Democrats do, the Republicans don't do, Harry, in my opinion. We had 4 seats, I think, where they just retired or they walked away. If they would have waited out, we would have still had a 4 or 5 seat margin. Where the Democrats put together, they wouldn't have done that. So that's where we got screwed by the Republicans.
I know.
Because,
agreed.
And you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. By the way, as I say goodbye to you, Dom Giordano said he would like to see Glenn Youngkin be the nominee. Number one, he is competent. He's very, very capable. As a governor, he's got that. Governors make great presidents. He's got that. He's term limited. You can only run one term at a time for governor. You can't have a second term in a row. You can have a second term later. But like McAuliffe tried to come back, and he almost did. So, but you can't do it 2 in a row. And right now, Virginia is 48-48. I think that Youngkin would put Trump over the top. Win Virginia, you win. I think you would win the election because that's a state that you don't need. You need them all, and especially ones you can win. So that, I think, would also create momentum where other battleground states would topple for Biden and in favor of Trump. So I can tell you Glenn Youngkin is not being vetted right now. It does not look like he's in contention, but Trump can pick whoever he wants. So there you have it. There is somebody that automatically, I think, could deliver, and it's not a state, it's a commonwealth, but could deliver that. Thanks for the call. I think we have a captain ready to salute us.
Hey, good morning, Harry.
Yes, Captain Jack.
Very interesting conversation about these offshore powerboat races. If I would have known about that, I would have probably put a trip together and brought people up from Cape May like we do for the air show. Maybe next year.
You got to treat that like it's, because it is staying for a number of years now. That is your wheelhouse, Captain Jack.
Yeah, I'm the guy that puts all the specialty trips together. That's part of my job with my company. So I'm going to try and get something scheduled for next year. Is the air show definitely on? Because I got to work on that.
100% on.
100% on. Okay, yeah. We will be. We brought 200 people up from Cape May for that.
I remember talking to you. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, in August, it's 100% that it is on, and it will be great.
Okay, yeah. I remember that, a lot of boats used to go for the offshore power boat races years ago, and then it kind of disappeared for a while.
It did. They didn't, but it disappeared from Atlantic City.
Okay,
and
yeah,
now they're
'cause
back.
we got high capacity boats. Actually, I could bring up to 300 people on the boat we bring up there, but we keep it at 200. That way it's not overcrowded.
Yeah.
And I usually sell it out.
Oh, it would be so popular, no doubt.
Yeah, so I didn't forget about you. I still have that envelope for you. I'm going to try and get up there next week and drop that off to you.
It's okay, Captain. Thank you. Thanks for thinking of me.
You know how it is? It's been super busy.
Yeah.
It's that time of year.
Good. Good for you. Keep it that way.
Yeah, so, okay, that's about it. Nice talking to you. I've been listening to you, but I've been, haven't had time to call you in a while.
It's good to talk to you, Captain. Jam and Jack.
So, all right, have a great day, Harry.
You too, my friend. See you now. We have time for one more call. As I promised, we would get you in. Thanks for hanging in there. You're on the air. Go right ahead.
Okay, good morning, Harry. This is Roscoe.
Hey, Roscoe.
Hi. I just wanted to mention that I went to that planning meeting last night that the lady that called your show talked about.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Well, it was very interesting. I had thought it was going to be about the wind project and the go ahead.
Well, it is about the wind project, but it's about the power that's required for the wind project.
Correct. And but
we're talking high voltage type application here.
I understand, and the people brought that up, but the planning board was not at all receptive to talking about that. The use, because they said that meeting was very restrictive to exactly deciding whether a small piece of land that I think Atlantic Shores bought, they didn't even know this, could be rezoned or something to the effect of including it with the rest of the property near Cardiff, somewhere near the Shore Mall, behind the Shore Mall where they're doing all that.
Yes, it's a piece that they need in order to complete their run.
Correct. It's a piece that they need. I think somebody said they paid $4.5 million for a small piece. The planning board didn't know anything about that. One of the guys there stood up and said he was surprised that he had to hear it from one of us.
Well, one of the tricky things is this. When Walt Disney bought the land in Orlando, he had a straw buyer buy pieces, because if the owner of Disneyland came in and said, I want to build, the Disneyland of the East, if you will, the price would have been one. I worked for him for 10 years. Steve Wynn, his idol was Walt Disney. Steve Wynn had Bill Rafferty do the same thing that Walt Disney had done in Orlando when Steve Wynn bought from the bay to the ocean in and around the area of Boston Avenue in Atlantic City. Bought everything within a couple of blocks, relocated a children's nursery, built him a beautiful one all the way down at the bay on Boston, because he wanted the land that was closer to Atlantic and Pacific Avenue. So when one entity is hearing an application and I'm not saying they're wearing blinders in a ignorant sense, but they're wearing blinders because they don't understand the wider issue of the application. It's incumbent upon them to know what this use is going to be.
Right, and I think that might have been the outcome, because they voted to continue the question, which was good. The chairman of the meeting seemed like he wanted to just vote yes, have everybody vote yes on the 3 or 4 issues, so they could do it, because he felt that if they voted down, then the powers in North Jersey will overrule them and mandate it, and he wanted to have control in the next steps.
They never have control, for the reason you just said. So sometimes, hey, I was proud of what Ocean City did. We're going to make you. We don't want this. We're going to make you do it. And then at least people would understand what happened. I don't know who that chairman is, but I don't like that approach. I don't like that surrender approach. I want to just give them what they want, because if I don't give them what they want, then the state's going to give them what they want, and then we lose control. You lose control anyhow.
Well, I think everybody felt that way, same way you did.
Yeah.
So did I. But I saw his point, but I didn't agree with it.
No, I don't agree. It actually tells me that person, I don't want to say the fix was in, but that person was trying to steer it. It sounds like to me. I'm going to find out who that is, because I don't agree with that at all. Look, if it's a permitted use, there are times where you have to do things that are not popular. But that sounds very off-putting to me.
I agree. But here's the thing. It's pretty clear Atlantic Shores wants to build substations there.
Oh, yeah.
And but that wouldn't come up, because that would come up in a follow-on meeting, the chairman said, and they would decide then, which I could see that point.
I know, but if you give the first piece, that gets you closer and closer and closer, and there are a lot of us that don't want to see this happen. So, do your job, but maybe, make it a little difficult.
Well, I agree. That's what the point was by most people. However, it came up that Atlantic City has already approved a whole block of beachfront property to be dug up.
Well, Marty Small is an absolute abomination. He's a disgrace. We're at the end of the program. I don't even have enough time, if we had an hour, to tell you what a disgrace he is. He's done nothing to help the communities that are so united in their opposition to this, because he is never concerned with what should be. He's